What's up, everybody? Welcome to PSI Love You XOXO episode 28. I'm one of your hosts, Greg Miller, alongside the pride of Long Island, Colin Moriarty.
It's good to be here with you today.
It's good to be here with you today, Colin. How have you been?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
I'm excellent.
Yeah.
Have you been playing video games?
A little bit.
What have you been playing?
A little more of The Division.
What level are you now?
13 maybe? 14, a little bit.
I tell you what, I had a lovely time at GDC.
Yeah.
I had a lovely time at South by Southwest. I desperately miss The Division. I can't wait to get back to The Division.
It's a good game. It's a very good game.
Level 19 is where I left the main character. The secondary character is level 13, I think, level 12, somewhere in there. I got to get back and get to 30. I got to get in this dark zone. I got to help Fran. I can't leave him out there. You can't leave Fran out there unprotected.
No, you must.
And I've been doing that. I've been Tuesday. We have a date to get it all. Well, I guess today, when you're watching this, we have a date tonight to get it back on track.
Cool. That's fun. And then I've been playing Salt and Sanctuary, although I only played it for a couple hours. I haven't had too much time to play. Aaron was here for like 9 days, so I just haven't had too much time to play.
What are your...
And we were doing GDC stuff as well.
Initial impressions of Salt and Sanctuary?
I like it a lot. I think that it's not a game for you, but I think that knowing your gaming preferences, but you should try and come to your own conclusions.
Because you keep saying it's 2D Dark Souls.
It is unabashedly Dark Souls. Like when people said that, I'm like, okay, so it takes some cues. It's a very difficult game, a grueling game. It is Dark Souls. Like I don't think they're trying to hide it. I think that they're trying to be obvious about it.
Is it an homage?
Yeah, you can say that.
Okay.
Everything about it. Except for its perspective and the way it plays.
With Dark Souls, though, in Bloodborne, it was always about watching your guy. I felt like I always think of it as, I'm watching my boss, my enemy, and then I'm strafing in 360 degrees to roll away from their attack to get behind him and attack him, usually, or something like that. How does that work in 2D?
So you could still roll and block and stuff like that and jump.
Okay.
Which you don't do in Dark Souls.
Sure.
So
I'm just trying to get over them or dodge their attack and then run up on them?
Yeah. I haven't fought too many difficult enemies that require too much maneuvering yet. But the boss I fought was pretty hard. It took me like 6 or 7 tries to beat the boss. Although I get a little impatient when I play 2D side scrolls. Like I try to brute force my way through things. That's the way I play Mega Man too. So until you get real elegant at it, but you have to really be smart playing this game. But everything about it is Dark Souls. Like you pick your character class, you customize that character. You can leave notes in the wild for other people to read. A lot of the on-screen imagery is the same. I think it says vanquished or something similar to what it says in Bloodborne or Dark Souls when you kill an enemy or when you're, skill tree and kind of equipping and unequipping things, very RPG-like, not unique to Dark Souls. In that respect, the obtuseness of it is really what reminds me of Dark Souls 2 as well, just in the sense of the story. It's like very vague. It's very weird. It's a very weird game, which I don't think anyone would deny. Dark Souls and Demon Souls and Bloodborne are weird. I think Bloodborne's like the least weird of all of them that I played. I played Demon Souls and Dark Souls. So it's cool. I like it. I want to continue to play it. I assume it's going to get very hard. I don't like games that are 2D. A lot of people are talking about the skill tree being ridiculous, and it is. Like the skill tree is...
So is that a turn off to you?
Absurd. I like a deep skill tree, but I don't like when an obtuse game has a deep skill tree because I don't really know what the fuck I'm supposed to do.
Sure, where are you supposed to be putting these points and stuff?
So I have a lot to figure out. I've played the game for literally 2 hours, so it's not like, take what I say with a grain of salt, but a grain of salt and Sanctuary. But go try it out if you'd like. See if that, 2D, hardcore, grueling game, you collect salt instead of souls to upgrade your character. You lose your salt if you die, and then you have to go back to the enemy that killed you to get it back and stuff like that. So it's
Dark Souls.
It is not trying to hide it. Okay. And I respect that. Why go halfway if you can go all the way?
Now at GDC, we played a lot of great games. We had people come through. Loved the Arena Gods. Loved the dodgeball game. But then I went to South by Southwest. They had a gaming show floor. I ran around there, Colin, and I finally got to play a game I've been talking about a lot, or at least tweeting about a lot. This is Valhalla. You seen this one? The VA.
I don't know.
You've seen me tweet it. It's VA-11 HALL-A. Okay. It's this game. It's the cyberpunk bartending game where you go through and make drinks for stuff, and the story's playing out. It's like you're just a bartender, right? So the gameplay is
I'm just the cook.
I'm just the cook. I can't do it well. If Nick was here, he'd do it for us. But this one, you go through in the cyber, punk world, cyber steampunk world or whatever, go through and make these drinks for people, get their stories and stuff. I only played like 30 minutes of it. I'm like, yep, this is what I wanted it to be. It's goofy. It's got a sense of humor. Coming to Vita. So there you go.
Nice.
That's all I want out of it.
That's huge.
But you sit there, you look at the recipe book, you add them up, you put them in, you mix. If you mix them too long, they blend, and then you fuck it all up. If a guy comes up and he's acting like he's a big guy, you need to double the drinks and stuff. It's very interesting.
Cool.
I'm very fascinated.
Sounds neat.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, This is PS I Love You XOXO. This is kindoffunny.com's.
You don't know. You almost said
PlayStation podcast.
You almost said something else.
I did. Yeah, it's been a long time. I'm rusty on this show. It is the #1 PlayStation podcast on the internet, and you picked a hell of a one to come join us on. Shuhei Yoshida coming by.
Yep.
You did an interview with him at GDC.
I did.
Top secret. We wasn't on the live streams. Nobody saw this one.
Yep. No one saw it.
I haven't even seen it yet. How'd it go? Does it go
was
well?
Great.
She was good.
Talked a lot about VR.
Well, let me tell you about a lot of VR questions.
And we're going to talk a lot about VR too, as well as talked about the first parties and what everyone's doing and all this. So I think people will find it quite informative as usual.
Cool.
Yeah.
You got that? You got a whole bunch of our reactions to this VR stuff. You got all these reactions to everything with this 4.5 stuff. There's a lot of stuff going on in this show. Remember, PS I Love You XOXO posts every Tuesday at 9 a.m. Pacific time. So please like, subscribe, share. YouTube.com/kindoffunnygames. And of course, if audio MP3s are your things, and let me tell you, looking at the numbers, there's a lot of you that are, and I thank you for that. Make sure you head over to SoundCloud, you head over to iTunes, you subscribe to the feeds there, share them with your friends, do all that stuff. And hey, a special thanks to all of you. I won that South by Southwest Gaming Award at the South by Southwest show, all because of your support. Thank you all so much for going to vote for me. You are all fantastic people.
And if you get us to $30,000 on a month on Patreon for Kind of Funny Games, we will smash the award.
That's not a real milestone at all. I would set it higher than that, 50,000.
It's just a wooden joystick.
At 50,000, we do the Viking funeral for it.
Oh, okay.
We push it off into the bay, and you get to fire flaming arrows at it.
The Art Deco other award.
The Game Award that came, Trendy Gamer.
Pretty damn cool.
It is a really good one. Heavy as a motherfucker.
It is, man. You can kill someone with that.
Yeah,
thing.
I probably will kill Kevin with it by the end of this.
Someone's going to die with it.
Colin, let's begin the show with what is and forever will be Roper's Report. Time for some singular possessive news.
There are 9 items on the list, although...
A baker's dozen.
Although I've truncated...
Over on kindoffunny.com/PSQ, CXXS says, hey guys, question for Colin. When compiling Roper's Report, I wonder if you ever intentionally avoid totaling the list to up to 13 exactly. I can only imagine the reaction you would receive from Greg if you were to deliver him an actual baker's dozen. Thanks, Christopher.
Yes, I do intentionally avoid 13.
Because you remember on the old show, Podcast Beyond, when you did 13, I wouldn't say baker's dozen.
I've edited the list twice to avoid 13 so far on PS I Love You.
You want to make out? I like you.
No.
I like you.
No.
I like you. Colin.
All right. So with this list, With this list, I struggled on which to put first. Because there are really 3 pieces of big news, but I think I have them in the right order here. No. Put your hand down. Because otherwise it loses the whole, nope. The special something that happens when you stop. You're being weird. I am.
Welcome to PS.
So let's start with PSVR.
Okay.
Number 1. The pricing of PlayStation VR has been revealed along with its release month, final specs, and everything that comes along with it. For starters, PSVR launches in October of 2016 and will cost $399.99 in the US. In the UK, it will cost £349, and in mainland Europe, it will cost €399. In Japan, PSVR will cost 44,980 yen. In the box, you will get the VR headset, a processor unit, the headset connection cable, an HDMI cable, a USB cable, stereo headphones, an AC power cord, and an AC adapter. PSVR doesn't come with a PlayStation camera, which is required, nor does it come with the PlayStation Move controllers, which are optional. Its external dimensions are for the headset 187 by 185 by 277 millimeters, counted width by height by length. The processor's dimensions, counted the same, are 143 millimeters by 36 millimeters by 143 millimeters. The headset weighs 610 grams. The processor unit weighs 365 grams. Its display method is OLED, and the panel size is 5.7 inches. The panel resolution is 1920 by RGB by 1080 or 960 by RGB by 1080 per eye. Its refresh rate is 90 to 120 hertz. Its field of view is approximately 100 degrees. It has 6-axis motion sensing systems built in, 3-axis gyroscope, and 3-axis accelerometer. You can connect an HDMI cord, auxiliary cable, and headphones into the headset, HDMI to TV, HDMI to PS4, a USB cable, and an auxiliary cable will be connected from the processor unit to the TV and PS4. 230 developers are supporting PSVR, according to Sony, with 160 different projects currently in development for the headset. So that's basically the high-end finality of PSVR, as we know it right now.
What do you think?
Pricing's great.
What about the hidden costs, Colin? The camera, the wands, OMG.
So the camera thing's unfortunate, and I think it was... Actually, I don't want to spoil too much of what Shuhei says here about why the camera's not bundled in, but I think he has something interesting to say about it that was not what I expected him to say about it. So I think you'll see what he says about it later on.
Is it my hardcore prediction for what I was saying earlier at the show?
What?
That like a hardcore PlayStation user already has the
Somewhat.
eye in somebody who's
You'll
gonna,
see.
Okay. I don't know. I don't know.
But he also was clear. Well, you'll see. I don't want to spoil it too much. So I think the pricing's right. The timing's disappointing because I want it now, but I think October's fine. It gives developers time to finish their games. We're hopefully going to get games like Riggs at launch, Valkyrie will be ready at launch, all this kind of stuff. So some good AAA games.
Can I ask you a question before you go further?
Yeah.
And I love you. And I love what we do here in all of our lives together. Is the Shuhei interview packed with enough information that you'd want to talk about it? So we should insert tots right here?
We could.
Because I don't want you pulling punches.
It's mostly about VR.
If we can get some VR kelp right from the horse's mouth, the horse being Shuhei, kelp. The horse is Shuhei Yoshida. Mm-hmm. The kelp is the information on PlayStation VR. I feel like that should be on the table.
Sure, we can. I mean, we've never inserted Tots this early, but we can do that.
Ladies and gentlemen, today for topic of the show, Tots. Oh, you're slowing the pace down. I like that. You're enjoying it. You're letting it linger.
Let it linger a little bit.
Like that song?
Cranberries.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Do you have to let
it's
it linger?
Song.
Yeah, well, I think most of the Cranberry songs were sad, weren't they? They weren't really.
Ode to My Family, pretty sad song. Zombie,
great band.
Pretty sad song. Yeah.
I'm going to listen to Cranberries after this for sure.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, for topic of the show, we went and talked to Shuhei Yoshida. And when I say we, I meant Colin. And he did it at GDC after the announcement of PlayStation VR. So before we talk any more about this VR business, why not kick it over to the president of Sony Worldwide Studios, Shuhei Yoshida.
Greetings and salutations. Welcome to PS I Love You, recording live from GDC. Live for us, not for you. I'm Colin Moriarty. This is Tim Geddes. This is Shuhei Yoshida. Let's give him a round of applause. Yay. Oh, he wants to clap.
Yay. This is my first appearance on PS I Love You. I feel like it's a good one to be on.
Oh, this is a good inaugural maiden voyage.
No. I was on the second episode.
Well, he was saying for him.
This is my first one on this show.
He's making it about himself.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Welcome to PS I Love You.
Yeah. Thank you, Shu. Shu, how's it going?
Good.
Yeah?
Yeah.
How was GDC?
Well, people are happy.
Yeah.
People are happy or excited or both.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's get right into, well, I'm going to say my traditional first question for later, which is about Sony Ben. But right now, we'll talk a little bit about VR, because obviously PSVR is the big thing at this show. Price point, $399.99 in the US. October 2016 release date, 50 games or so by the end of the year, so between October and December. All sounds good to me. So you've been getting a pretty positive response from people?
Yeah. Well, beyond positive. So because we are so close to what we are doing, and I was hoping that people will be very happy. But when we announced the price, and people are super happy.
And I was saying earlier, people in the room were like clapping and standing up. So yeah, it's good.
Yeah, it's huge. Greg and I were having a crisis of confidence on PS I Love You the last few weeks, because when Oculus's price point was announced at 600 and then Vive's was at 800, we were like, maybe we just don't know what we're talking about. Like maybe PSVR is going to be $1,000 or $700, like who knows? But it's the $399 price point seems quite affordable and quite reasonable. And I was surprised to learn that you guys are selling it at a profit too. Like you're actually making money. That's unbelievable. So like, how did you did you identify this price point a long time ago? Or did you kind of have to like nip and tuck a little bit to figure it out?
Yeah. So we had in our mind the target is like, Andrew House saying that we always wanted this to be for us to be able to sell around the console price. So specifically $399 was the target price, but we didn't put the target price before what we are, making, what we have to accomplish. We really believed, and I believe that's the same for other companies like Oculus and Valve guys, that because VR is so new and so important, we have to do it right for the first time. When we bring our first consumer product, it has to be really good in terms of quality, so that people have great experience and believing and get excited and become fan of VR in general. So we waited until we are able to. We have a list of technical milestones that we wanted to hit. And that's pretty common in this is small, industry, VR community. We share a kind of, understanding and research results. And so we had to wait till now to launch our first product because now this year we can use 120 hertz OLED that doesn't exist anywhere.
Right.
So we are making the custom-made cutting-edge tech display for PSVR. That's beautiful and that's super fast and that creates super low latency because we believe that's necessary to provide the great VR experience for consumers. And also we, from especially Worldwide Studio standpoint, we work with the hardware guys, very closely, like a team to develop new system. And we always discuss what features has to be in the system. And one of the things, some of our teams, like Japan Studio or London Studios, strongly suggested to hardware guys that we want to make VR something that people, families or friends can enjoy together in the same room, same living room. And, specifically Japan Studio proposed this idea of if PS4 can render two different images at the same time, one for person wearing the headset and the another for TV, so that other people can play games together with the person with, wearing headset. So we call it social screen and separate mode. And in order for us to do that, we needed to put, processing resources on the PU unit that we are calling processor unit that splits the signal, video signal from PS4 to TV and headset. And we can have two completely different images at the same time so that we can do something like Playroom VR. And that adds up the cost to the system.
Right.
But we believe that's super important for VR to take off, for VR to be welcomed by people, not just by core gamers, but for the whole family of that core gamers. So that was the first thing we wanted to accomplish. And then we looked at the cost and we relied on our, capable hardware team. They've been making hardware for the longest time, and we have resources in Sony to work with to be able to create the system and source the high-tech components for us to be able to sell at the reasonable price and target price that we had in mind. So we don't want to lose money selling hardware, because we are, a commercial company. But more importantly, if we are losing money selling hardware, we cannot spend money to support, software development community or provide, assistance or trial to consumers or, do promotions. So we don't have to make a lot of money from selling hardware, but we don't want to, put ourselves in the position to lose money by selling hardware, so that will limit our other activities. So I'm very relieved that we are able to accomplish all of these, and hopefully that will help accelerate the adoption of this new exciting medium.
Have you been seeing, I've heard rumors that the pre-orders are already doing very well. Are you seeing positive feedback about, for pre-orders and from the market itself? Are you optimistic that this thing's going to meet whatever your internal targets are for the year?
Well, we had an internal target that we realized that was a bit too small.
Too small?
That was the reason we pushed back the launch from the first half, that we are kind of thinking around, June timeframe, E3 timeframe before. And the hardware development has been done. It's on schedule, and we are great. But in order for us, so more and more we get feedback from consumers and retailers and such. Our business side realized we need more unit than we had originally anticipated to prepare for the launch. So the only thing we can do is to delay the launch so that we can manufacture more for the day one.
It's a great sign.
Yeah,
yeah.
It's definitely good.
So that's the reason. That's the biggest reason for the October launch as opposed to first half. But we at the same time we know that delaying it will give time for all the software developers, including ourselves, to keep polishing the games, because VR is a very difficult, hard. There are lots of hard problems we have to solve, so that most of the people will have a great experience, when they try PSVR for the first time. So the giving teams, all teams, more time will ensure or will help them improve the initial experience of the consumers when they buy PSVR and their games. So these are the two major reasons that we push back the launch timeframe.
Has it been hard to explain to people that don't have it on them how awesome it is?
Absolutely. Yeah, including ourselves. There's all, for each one who are excited about VR has had one moment or one demo that we went through that made us convert from like skeptics to this passionate believer. And that could be different per person. And so when you try the good VR experience, that's something beyond what you expect before you tried it. So the trial is super important. It's always the number one important method to communicate this experience to consumers.
So do you think that come when October's coming up, do you think you'll have stores like GameStop and Best Buy? Will there be demo units that people can try, and do you think that'll be really important?
Well, in general, trials are so important, and with the delay of launch, we'll continue to bring PSVR to many events, or we might create some truck full of kiosks to drive around nation or different countries, or we might set up some special promotional events so that people can try out. And also I'm sure each country's our business group will talk to retailers, especially those retailers who have the larger space and can set up a proper space to demo, hands-on demo of PSVR, and that's important to have an attendant to be able to educate, person who just come to the shop to be able to properly set up. So that all of that, we'll do.
What do you make of the criticism? I personally don't agree with it, but it is common criticism that the VR unit doesn't come with a camera, and or move controllers, which I think is not really even that relevant, but specifically the camera. What do you make of that? Because that seems to me to be the most common naysay, as it were.
Yeah, PSVR is not $400; it's $460. Yeah, I saw these comments. But pretty early in the process, we decided to not bundle camera because we know that many people who already own the camera, especially people who purchased PS4 in the first year, and so those people, if we bundle as a standard camera another one, they will be mad, because they cannot do anything with it, because PS4 can accept only one camera.
Right.
Maybe they sell at the eBay or whatever. But so and the same thing with Move. Your camera is required, but because we know that many people already own it, so we do not put in the basic unit, basic product. But in each region, typically our companies come up with different kinds of bundle packages. So you will see the approach will be different, region by region. One country might have a bundle just with camera, or other might have camera and PS Moves or like that. Right. So that's always part of the thinking. But this week's announcement for us is to announce the base unit that's consistent globally. And for people, we know that early adopter PS4, many of them already on cameras. We don't want them to spend more money than necessary.
Yeah, it's interesting. I actually hadn't even thought about,
Yeah, it's really
it from that perspective, especially because you guys
obvious.
had a camera shortage. My last question about VR before we move on to software is, which is your specialty, is how did you become? You've been an evangelical about since the days of Morpheus. You've been into this, and obviously being an executive at Sony, you've been privy to this long before we have. But you're in charge of the first party software studios. You have nothing to do with hardware, like in terms of you certainly have input and knowledge and all that kind of stuff, but that's not what you do on your day-to-day business. So how did you find your way as the primary hardware evangelical person or evangelist for PSVR? It seems like you're the lead on this from a Sony perspective, but it's not necessarily within your purview.
I'm the weed. Whatever it means.
The lead.
A lead.
The lead.
Oh, I thought you said weed.
No, you're not the weed.
Oh, okay. I'm the
not
weed.
the weed. I don't think you're the weed.
PSVR. He's laughing. Well, actually, my base is in Tokyo. You know that. Yeah, so I moved to Tokyo from San Mateo office to Tokyo office in 2008 when I became the president of our studios. Kaz Hirari, asked me to move so that I can work very closely with the hardware group. At that time, the hardware teams were starting to design PS Vita and started to discuss, PS4. So we and the Kaz asked, let's change the way, PlayStation used to make hardware. That was pretty much purely hardware team driven, with the genius of Ken Kutaragi, to more collaborative effort between the Valve Studios game creators and the hardware, engineering team in Tokyo. And that's how we designed, and we brought in Mark Cerny with his genius to design PS Vita and PS4. And we are so happy with the result because lots of ideas hardware team can come up. Our game teams can evaluate and test and this is great, or this is we cannot use it. And hardware guys really enjoy these conversations because in the end they do not just want to create great hardware, they want hardware that great games can be made and delivered to consumers. So they love this very tight communication that we have between Valve Studio teams and hardware team. So because I understand and speak Japanese natively, me being in Tokyo, actually I can attend any meetings, hardware meetings in Tokyo, and help hardware team and specific game team to communicate, to attack some specific hardware issues that they are looking at. So I've been doing it for a long time. So I spend quite good amount of my time to work with the hardware guys, even though my primary responsibility is to manage the game studios that So that's how I've been deeply involved in the development of PSVR, from the very beginning. I was one of the cheerleaders within the company to do VR is great, we should do this kind of cheerleading I've been doing. So because I've been doing some PR work for PS4 as well, so naturally I've been talking on behalf of the company of how PSVR would be great.
Let's talk about games. How are the studios doing? How is everyone doing?
Oh, I know they are working very hard. Yeah, and I think Uncharted 4 is coming out.
Oh,
very soon.
Very excited. I assume you've played it.
Well, I try not to play it, just like yourself.
Right.
Yeah, I tend to play games before it's complete. So I play games in early stage, alpha stage, beta stage. So when games come out, I might not touch it, because I played it. And that doesn't help me enjoy the best out of our games. But that's part of my job, right? I have to play it myself and give feedback to the teams because teams can be too close to games when they are in development. So me coming in and try, could give them some, fresh perspective. So, however, I know Naughty Dog will make amazing games, so they don't need any help. So I just I wait, until it's finished. But somehow I got hold of the code, almost final, and I played the first hour or so, and I decided to stop. Yeah, because it was great, but I really want to play this game like other consumers.
Right.
So I'm trying to forget what I saw.
How is Sony Ben doing? How's their game shaping up?
Well, some of them are here because it's GDC, right? So I was talking with, they are doing well. Yeah, they're making a game.
You love this. You love the tease.
And I'm increasingly happy about what they are doing.
Awesome. Do you have, I don't want to dominate the conversation.
No, it's fine. You can dominate all. I have one question.
Yeah.
One very obvious question for people that know me. Crash Bandicoot. Will we ever see Crash Bandicoot again? And if so,
you see, so one of the so I took 20 or so, maybe more interviews this week after the announcement PSVR, and most of the people asked the question about PSVR, but one journalist asked, so here and there, people are asking some classic game of on PlayStation might come back, and I said that I have an advice to people that you should not try to read too much from corporate executive by what they are wearing on T-shirts.
Yeah, so as a reference to the Crash Bandicoot T-shirt, which was maybe not the smartest idea.
Especially if it's Sean Layden. Probably, Sean would wear anything, he likes to wear the day of the presentation.
Probably, I can see how people drew that conclusion, but he can do what he wants.
Yeah, no, definitely. T-shirt or not, hope is out there.
By the way, Sean and I used to work together as a localization producer for Naughty Dog games back in the days. So Sean was in Europe, in London, and localizing games from US and Japan for the European market. And I was in Japan localizing games, Naughty Dog games, from US to Japan. So we used to meet as a group of global, a production team in Naughty Dog office all the time. So he has some special attachment to
right, of course. No, that makes sense. All right, so Ben's doing their thing. Sucker Punch coming along. You had said at E3 you played some prototype.
Did I say that?
You did. You said you played something. Yeah.
Yeah, I said played something.
Yeah. You played. I
didn't say.
It's all right. Yeah. Well, I'm fishing a little bit. Yeah. I just had Shannon Studd still in from Sony Santa Monica. When can we expect? Is there any time frame? I know they're kind of.
Sorry. I saw the schedule, and Shannon was on the show.
Yeah.
Was it today?
Yeah, it was today. Just about an hour and a half ago.
Did she do okay?
She did great.
Oh, okay.
She did great. I talked to her PSX too. I know she doesn't do many interviews, but she seems to like to talk to me. So.
Well, I thought she might be a bit shy on camera.
She is a little shy, but I think she and I have good camaraderie. So yeah, we talked a little bit about that, but I know we talked a little bit about them hiring, doing a hiring spree for their AAA team. So I guess we're kind of a ways away from seeing anything from them. You would assume.
Yeah.
What else?
Oh, by the way, did she talk about the new video series?
She had mentioned it. Yeah, she had talked a little bit about that.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, I haven't actually watched them. They're on PlayStation Blog. Is that where they're living, or on YouTube?
YouTube, or if you follow Sony Santa Monica on Twitter, there's a link.
Okay.
And they just released a second episode of focusing on one team member who is doing a job in the office, Santa Monica office, and those people are super creative and talking about their job and what they do at the studio. So it's pretty interesting. I don't know why they are doing it, but maybe they are thinking that might help for recruiting purpose.
Probably.
Yeah, but it, if you're interested in the process of making games in studio, that's a pretty well done video. So
Yeah, it's awesome. She made her pitch at the end in terms of trying to get people to go to the website and apply, because we do have a lot of devs and aspiring devs in our audience. Instead of prying about games you can't talk about, let's finish with 2 games that you can talk about. How's The Last Guardian looking? Is it still on track for this year?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's unbelievable, isn't it?
Yeah, it is unbelievable. That's why I'm asking.
Yeah. Well, team in Japan very busy working, but they seem to be very excited.
Awesome. I'm excited. I want to see the final product too. And then finally, the game I think the first party game we're most excited about, other than Uncharted, which is close, is Horizon.
Yes.
We got confirmation. Did we? We talked to someone. I don't remember who. Who the hell did we talk to? I don't remember. The game is coming out this year, right? You guys are targeting fall.
Yes.
I'm so excited. Are you excited about this game? Because I feel like if Horizon is right, if it hits, and I think you agree, if this game hits and it's what it should be, this is a brand new huge IP. This isn't this doesn't seem like a one-off game to me. This seems like it could be a series for you guys, and Guerrilla pivots away from Killzone or just does this moving forward. Are you optimistic about it? Are you excited about it?
Well, media people ask me questions very nicely that, this may be like picking a favorite from your children, but do you have any favorite from the games coming out this year? I always answer Horizon. So
even more than Uncharted, you'd say?
Well, Uncharted is great. I love Uncharted.
You know what it is, right?
Yeah. Horizon is, I cannot wait to play. Yeah, so this robot, and it's combat action, right? I love action games, and it's an open world, open field. It's amazing. It's super fun.
I'm so excited. So that's going to be your big tentpole fall game, I guess, is Horizon. You're going to be focusing on that. Fingers crossed. Yeah, I'm excited. But next time I come to Japan, maybe you can just sneak me a build, and because I know you have an alpha build of it at your office probably, and you just let me play it a little bit, and we can mess around with it a little bit. That's fine. Do you guys have a target date on The Last Guardian? Is it this summer, or is that also going to be in the fall, or can you not talk about that?
I don't think we are talking about the timing. Yeah, we release it when it's done.
Mm-hmm. We've heard that before.
Yeah.
All right, let's wrap it up there. We don't want to keep Shu forever. He's got other things to do. Shu, thank you for joining us at GDC. I hope you have a good rest of your show.
Thanks for having me back here this year. And next year, I'll be back to be assistant for this premier British game developer.
Yeah, he needs his young Japanese assistant to play the game for him while he talks about
his new game.
Thanks, Shu, and thank you, Tim.
Thank you.
Back to the show.
Excellent interview, Colin.
Thank you.
I assume. I still haven't had time to read or watch. Kevin just delivered me the file. So back to the point then of what you were saying before. What does he say about the camera?
Well, he was saying that he doesn't want people to feel like they needed to buy the camera twice, or only give them an option to buy the camera with the PSVR unit. So he's saying kind of half what you're saying, but he's saying if we just bundle the camera with the PSVR unit, then what if you have a camera?
Yeah, that's a good point. And
so it goes both ways. I think
I'm sure there's some marketing to it.
With all due respect to Shuhei, I think that's a great answer, and there's certainly truth to it, if not completely true. But I also feel like that's a little bit PR-y, because you could have 2 SKUs, but I respect what he's saying. The hidden cost of the PSVR is only the camera. So the PS4 you'll need $350, the unit's $400, so and then the camera is about $50 or $60. So you're talking about $800 for everything. The Vive itself costs $800. Yeah. Without even having the high-end PC rig that you need to run it. Oculus is $600 plus the PC rig. So the hidden cost of those things is the PC. So pound for pound, as I said, I think on Gamescast, Vive could be free, and it would still be more expensive than everything you need, theoretically, to run PSVR. Mm-hmm. So, or to just run VR generally on that unit. So I'm quite impressed with it. I feel like we've talked about it so much, I don't really know what else to say about it.
Well, we threw it away that one time. We did the thing at GDC where we lost it, and then we talked about it on
Right,
Gamescast
but we also talked about Gamescast.
Yeah,
so I don't want to be redundant.
But people, they love the boiled down opinions of the PlayStation, faithfully. I'm super stoked. We had a million questions about it. So, Colin, I'm going to start throwing some of them at you. Are you ready?
Sure.
Remember, ladies and gentlemen, to be part of the show, go to kindafunny.com/PSQ. Just like Metro Yeesim did. Hi, Colin and Greg. With the PSVR price tag being announced at $399, I am pretty happy. My concern is that it will not hit its potential in the market. Do you worry that if Sony's PlayStation VR does not sell well within 6 to 12 months, that it might lose support like the Vita did? Vita is a great device that seems to have been abandoned. PS TV, I own for remote play, and it's great. Never got off the ground, and I have also been impressed. I've also been impressed with PS Now. These ideas have not done what Sony thought they will. Will VR be another underachiever? Matt, this has been my concern from the get-go, that this would go the route of, I always say, PlayStation Move, where it comes out, it gets here, people aren't into it, developers see that, and they don't make games for it. But I don't know, and I don't want to get too bullish. I believe in VR. I like VR. I think you're super into VR. You talk about it as if it's like going to be here for sure forever.
I literally have no doubt about it. That was what I was talking about on the Gamescast with Tim, where you know, and he's not here to defend his position, so I don't want to talk about it too much, but like comparing it to Waggle, I think is just a huge fallacy. There's nothing gimmicky about VR. It's not a gimmick. Like
Sure.
I like it. It just isn't. So,
but I do still worry that it could be a piece of tech that doesn't get adopted if it comes out and does this thing.
I do not think it's going to be to set the world on fire now, but I think we're going to have VR in 10 years.
Sure. Again, this is laying the foundation, I think. And when you talk to developers, they're either super into it or not into it. But I feel that there are enough developers that are super into it that we talked about in the Gamescast, right? And I still stand by is the fact that cinema mode is a great, play your games on your VR unit is a great way to give you something here at launch. And even if it's a mediocre launch lineup and there's only one standout or whatever, it's still something to use it so you don't see it on your shelf every day and resent the fact you just spent $400 on it. It's a reason you could put it on. You could show it to a friend. You could do something with it that keeps it in this positive conversation long enough for more games to get here and show you what the real power of VR is.
Yeah, I still think that we have to keep open minds and be bullish about the possibilities of VR outside of gaming. I just think that like when we think about VR in terms of just gaming, it's small-minded and it's not the end, it's the beginning of VR. And that's what it's so exciting about the tech is that it's the proving ground for the tech, and we don't see that very often in games. But as I said before, and some people were confused by it, I think on the Gamescast, where I was like, it's a gimmick until it was a gimmick until it's not, or it's not a gimmick until it is. And what that means is anything can be a gimmick. Analog sticks could have been a gimmick until they stuck, right?
Sure.
Or Rumble could have been a gimmick until it stuck. Or the D-pad back in the day could have been a gimmick until it stuck, and replacing kind of an analog joystick. I feel like VR has such incredible application and is such a new way to play games that it will seem gimmicky until you put it on and you'll realize it is no gimmick. And whether or not, there are big developers we like out there like Steve Gaynor that don't believe in making games for VR, but I'm not sure that they don't believe in VR's tech.
Sure.
I've really not met anyone, to be honest, that I've talked to that has played VR, PSVR, Oculus Vive, whatever it is, that hasn't been blown away by it. Like not even been like, oh, that's okay.
It's a huge step. It's something different. It's what you talk about a lot, where you're waiting for something that couldn't have been done on a previous generation. VR is that experience. You have this device and you can't do this on something else in this way.
When we were at Achievement Hunter, we were at Rooster Teeth, we were in Achievement Hunter's office, and I was playing with the Vive, and I was playing like some stupid game where you like are a monster walking through a city. Destroying shit. And it's not a great game. It's just like, it's an interesting kind of tech demo. You use like the motion controls to grab things and throw them and crush people and all sorts of stuff. And I like smashed Nick with my hand when I was like throwing something, because I had already forgotten that I was even in space, like in a space with people around me. Like it was weird. Like I'm like, what's gonna be like when I play Eve Valkyrie or something, a game I'm really excited about, that I'm willing to break all my conventions, like no online gaming conventions, for instance. I'm gonna play that game because it's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
So I think that PSVR or Oculus or Vive is relevant, but let me read number 2 because it's relevant to this.
Okay.
Number 2, GameSpot reports that PlayStation VR may sell 1.6 million units globally before 2016 ends, according to research provided to the website from analyst firm IHS Screen Digest.
And we all know
the research notes that such sales would give PSVR a 64% share of the VR market due to the PS4's ease of use and ready-to-go nature compared to its more expensive, more complicated counterparts that require high-end PCs to run. The firm predicts 53 million PS4s in homes by the end of 2016, which outstrips the reported 17 million PC consumers that are capable of using Oculus or Vive. So that's an interesting number. They count in their statistics 17 million PC consumers that are really ready to go.
Yeah.
Like, and can play Vive or Oculus as is, compared to 53 million PS4s that'll be ready to go. And that 1.6 million units will be sold from October to December of PSVR.
Well, that's the thing, right? The Amazon UK, they sold out of their pre-order allotment right quick. And then here in North America, right, the deal is that they're only selling the special bundle that comes with the wands and the camera, which people are pissed off about. But that was what I saw announced. I haven't seen clarification. Have you?
I haven't seen
At
it.
some point, Amazon's going to sell it here in America that you can get just the headset.
When that happens, I'll order mine.
Sure.
So this is relevant information, even though it's just a prediction from an analyst firm that does make its money from being right. That it's not going to set the world on fire, but 1.6 million, even if they sell 1 million of these things in the first 2 or 3 months, that seems to be successful to me. I don't think that they would be disappointed in that. That's a pretty significant attach rate.
And that's what I keep going back to. Yeah, we say the same things on these shows every week, I guess. But the fact of, I think it just comes down to what Sony's bar for success is. I think Sony knows what they're doing. You talk to Shu and he says, we're launching this like we launched the PlayStation. In 20 years, we're going to look back and talk about this launch of PlayStation VR. They're talking about laying groundwork and laying a foundation, and this isn't the one that destroys everything. This is the one that gets the hardcore people who already are hardcore enough to buy a PlayStation 4 camera and already own a camera to get in and see this tech and be down with it. Speaking of which, over at kindafunny.com/PSQ. Randomer wrote in and said, "Hi Greg, hi Colin. When I opened my browser Tuesday morning, I read the news about the price for PlayStation VR. I was happy for you guys. Hashtag Colin was right. I listen and watch every week, and I see VR as a technology of tomorrow. So, until now, I was thinking of buying PlayStation VR 2 or 3. But during my shower that day, I started thinking about PSVR and the fact that it was cheap and I could show my 80-year-old grandparents or my 21-year-old sister-in-law. Side note, she's buying a PlayStation 4 for my brother. Then she says a whole bunch of other stuff. I have no question, but I am the proof that the price and the novelty of VR will make it sell. Now, I just need the money for it, but that's another problem. Thanks for everything, Valentine." So it is working for them, right? The price, what we talk about, the optics of it, that it is so much cheaper than Oculus, that it is so much cheaper than Vive.
It's half the cost of Vive.
And that it's approachable. You know what I mean? Like right now we have a Vive in the living room, and Kevin keeps asking me every day, what are we doing with it? What are we doing with it? Can I take it home? Like, don't take it home because we'll
just
need
sell
it one day. No, we're going to use it for stuff, but it's like,
We should sell it.
I don't want to unpack it because we have to bring it in here and use it in the room and use it on the rig, and we're going to have to probably bust the table out of the room to have enough space to use it and all this different stuff. And I get it all set up in this different PC, and then our monitors are always in different places. Whereas with PlayStation VR, it's like, all right, cool. There's a PlayStation 4 in every room on every TV, and just jack it in and sit on the bed even. You just move your head and do whatever.
Yeah, I think I'm confident. Like, I don't think it's going to be this thing that's going to set the world on fire right away, but it will be. It's not going anywhere. It's just not. Like, I just think that there's a significant level of delusion to think that this technology is going to be introduced and that great minds aren't going to be able to do things with it. It might not always have an application in gaming, and it might not always set the world on fire with gaming, but it is going to exist, and it is going to have applications outside of it.
You muddy your own point when you do this, because you talk about this all the time, that, yeah, like, the real drive of VR, the real interesting thing of VR isn't the games, right? You always say you hope in 20 years nobody's even talking about it for games. You're using it to do these different experiences, live concerts, go to these museums, go to Mars, different stuff like that. I think that still leaves games out to dry on this round, right? It could be that you get this tech and you play this tech and you're like, this tech's cool, these games suck, but there's something here. And then it is somebody goes off and does it. If whatever happens here leads to the concert venues, leads to all these different live event kind of ideas. That doesn't help games if the games fizzle out on that front.
No, it doesn't help games, but I don't know that I really care. Like I'm like way more interested in the technology than I am in the games. All I'm trying to say is that this is a rare moment for gaming where the technology will be proven on games. Computers, personal computers, as we talked about on the Gamescast, were simply not proven on games. Games came a little bit later. The application for, and what was exciting about when Xerox was working on the Star and the Alto, for instance, in the mid 70s, was the application for your office. The application of Apple I and especially Apple II to run word processing and spreadsheets and calculators and all sorts of like weird things like that. Gaming was around and it existed. I mean, gaming was done on mainframe computers in the 60s and 70s with punch cards. It's not to say gaming has a very intimate relationship with computing. It's just to say that the technology was proven later. IBM PCs weren't sold in 1981 and 1982 on the back of games. It was sold on the back of spreadsheets. So to have this technology come forth and be like, we are going to prove VR with games is exciting, and it could be daunting. But I do think that the application of this is going to be obvious. Like immediately, it's going to be obvious to people much smarter than us about what to do with it, and it's not going to have anything to do with games. Now, we might be playing games with PSVR or just VR generally in 10 or 20 years. I'm sure we will be, but I hope that we don't think about it like that. About like, look at this great gaming device. It's like, look at this device that's in the center of your living room in 20 or 30 years that can do anything.
That moves on to have its place like a computer, where there's different functions for it.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
So I think it's so evident. That's why I'm so shocked at a lot of the naysaying. Maybe I'm dead wrong, but
I don't think so. Like I just don't. Now
I think the naysaying though is because it's about games right now. You know what I mean? It doesn't benefit anybody if they buy a PlayStation VR. The games all suck. Developers abandon it, but then a developer from company X makes something awesome in VR. You still spent $400 on a gaming device that doesn't do anything.
Yeah, but when you know, Boston Dynamics or NASA or SpaceX get their hands on this thing,
Sure,
it's gonna be way cooler than what I think the game developers are gonna do. You know, so. And I also want to say that this can go for augmented reality too, and I do think that both will hit. I wonder which one will be more important than the other, but
I think augmented's too far behind. You know what I mean? I just don't. We're not seeing it. We're not on that level yet. Even HoloLens was cool, but where is HoloLens? How far out is HoloLens?
Yeah, I don't know.
What does that mean? Now here's an idea. Somebody wants to bounce off you, Colin. Us, whatever. It's Monkey over on kindafunny.com/PSQ. He's jumping into this whole live action concert thing that Lauren Lanning was talking about with VR and all this different stuff, right? Hello, Colin and Greg. A couple of months ago, Sony quietly announced that they've bought a concert venue in Times Square and called it PlayStation Theater. I thought it was an odd purchase because it wasn't really video games related. It didn't hit me until GDC when they announced the price for PlayStation VR that this venue could be used for VR concerts. They haven't really talked about what they plan to do with VR besides video games. I forget Sony's a huge company outside of gaming. They could do VR music videos, live VR Beyonce concerts, private VR movie screenings, or something like experiencing an E3/PSX press conference in VR for those who can't attend. In theory, it sounds great, but getting all these different sectors of the company on board is probably really difficult. Could they pull something like this off?
Yeah, there's something to that, I think. Although who knows, because the branding deals are, the Islanders play in Barclays Center, for instance. It's like it's not an uncommon thing for these companies to just get their name on something.
And I agree with you, but it did get its own PlayStation blog post. Like, they made a thing about it that this was happening, and I thought at the time too, I'm like, that is a weird choice. It sounded crazy when I read it the first time, and then you thought about it, and you're like, that'd actually be a really cool idea.
Yeah, I think there's something
of like
to it.
We have this PlayStation Theater, and what it is tied into PlayStation VR and our live events and all these different things.
Yeah, I think there's something to it. It goes to what Lauren Lanning was talking to us about on Gamescast at GDC, the idea of live concerts and live events, which I think is really smart. And I also think it's really smart to buy it in New York, just simply because not only is it the greatest city in the world, but it's also where every band goes.
Yeah.
Like, you don't do a tour without going to New York. So It's like, why would you ever do that? So it's even when foreign bands or whatever come from only a few shows in not foreigner,
okay,
but even when foreign bands come from overseas to the United States, New York's obviously one of the places you stop in. So this is just a way to just work into that. Like, if it's, it's not like you're getting a place in Texas or something like that, where it's like you might not go there, even though Texas is a big state. It's just it's a hub of activity to be convenient to the acts that you would need. So I do think that it could be nothing, but I do think there's probably something to it.
How confident are you that PSX 2016 will be VR compatible? That they'll have a 360-degree camera, front row, middle of the thing, or whatever. Not front row, but right there.
That's a really nice idea, probably.
I mean, that's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
You totally hope they do. And that's what you're talking about with the applications, and what I'll be really fascinated to see how PlayStation does it. Because when you're talking about NASA, and you're talking about, getting out there for concerts, my initial thought, and I was always been, and what I just talked about, right, is like, that's great, that doesn't help PlayStation VR. But when you rope in the fact of like, okay, what if it was the PlayStation Theater, and it was that through PSN, or more likely or not, the PlayStation Theater app that I'd go to, that, yeah, I gave them a certain amount of money and I got to go to whatever concert is there. Or I gave them that and they are showing movies. Probably not new stuff, but like Return of the Living Dead's anniversary comes up and they're going to do it this thing. And then you can get there and sit with other people. Same thing though becomes like, what does that do to PSX? And I think it'd be PSX over E3 personally. E3 is harder to control. It isn't their show. I mean, don't get me wrong, they have Ethernet and a million things going on there, but there's another million things going on at E3. PSX, it would be all about PSX, right? Like, you'd be able to do that. That also gets me super excited to think about what PlayStation blog and like their live coverage would be, right? Of PSX, it's like roaming reporter or just roaming camera dude, right? Who has the 360-degree unit on him and is just walking around, and you get to see everything that's happening at PSX.
Yeah, again, this is the exciting thing, is like the exciting VR virtual reality is not for games. Ultimately, I mean, it's just not for fake things. It's for real things. So yeah, we're going to be playing games on them. I'm excited about the games, but it is virtual reality. Like, you are in,
Somewhere.
SpaceX going to Mars in 10 or 20 years and putting 3D cameras there so you can walk on the surface of Mars is way more exciting than any game.
Except Patapon.
Period. Like, and being able to go to your favorite concerts or a sporting event, being able to pay the NFL. I'd pay the NFL $500 a year to just sit and watch the Jets. in the Meadowlands at the 50-yard line.
Would you though? Because
Yeah,
we
I
always
would.
talk about how the experience is better on TV.
The experience is better on TV if you are in 90% of that stadium. If you are in the set, and because there's a perspective problem when you watch live football, as we know.
Of course.
A 10-yard run, depending on where you look at, it looks like it's a run at a loss or something like that. So like sitting at the 50-yard line or having the option to do that, going to an Islanders game and sitting behind the glass and really being able to that's what VR is all about to me. Reality. You're virtually in it.
Sure.
It's not virtual fake shit.
I hear you.
So I mean, I like the idea of the games or whatever. I'm just saying, let's think big. This is the proving ground,
and that's what I'd love to hear Sony start talking about, or PlayStation start talking about a little more. What are they doing with this new device, this new tech outside of games? Because these, they should have probably hired Monkey, because Monkey's ideas are pretty good. Do this at the theater, exclusive theater stuff, exclusive movie stuff. Do it at exclusive shows, PSX, all these different things.
Sure.
Every keynote you have now, every kind of thing like that, you have a camera set up there. That there is a reason to jack in to the Matrix.
There should be a reason to jack in. All right.
I'll be jacking in all over the place, jacking off when Jackie T comes back.
Hey, Greg.
Hey, Greg. I'm sitting here right now in PlayStation VR watching this in my underwear. Sure is better than being on the stage. I got another one for you, Colin. Sure. And this is interesting. Massnator32 says, holy shit. PlayStation VR is launching in October for $399 US American dollars. And that is awesome. It was also mentioned, I should say, that there will be 50 games available at launch. 50 in the launch window, to be clear. From the launch in October until the end of the year is what they're saying. And some of those are sure going to push. That's a crazy amount of games. So my head immediately went to my wallet. How much will PSVR games cost? I doubt PlayStation VR games will be physical. I don't know all the logistics for that. But what prices do you think will be explored? Will there be a range like there are with indie games that can go anywhere from $5 to $40? Or will there be some kind of set price at like the $30 level, the same way AAA games are typically priced at $60? I will probably buy most of the launch games, so I'm really curious what these will cost. Anyways, you guys are great, and I love the hell out of the show. Mason.
It was a question I thought about after Shuhei had left, which was, will games be released at retail? And I think they will be. So
I agree that they will.
I think that's number one. I
think there will be a lot. I think there's going to be a lot of indie stuff, just like there is now on every other PlayStation 4.
You have to have games on the shelf next to the unit. You can't just sell the unit with the hope of PSN selling games.
Riggs, Eve Valkyrie, like the big
Ace Combat,
real games. Yeah, exactly, the real games, quote unquote.
Yeah. So I think the price point's going to go from free to $60. And one of the things I brought up on the Gamescast was the idea of games being even more expensive. Typical games that would need to be reworked in some way to run in PSVR, because as we talked about with Steve Gaynor a while ago, you can't, and we know you can't just put a game on PSVR. It needs to be rendered twice at 120 frames, and or 60 and 60, so that it looks right. And Sony's saying they're not even sure that they would allow games running at lower than 60 on PSVR at all, because it just doesn't work.
Sure.
So. Yeah, I still have this idea, and I know it's a technical hurdle, and it's probably not possible. I don't have a technical mind like that, but to just say Far Cry 5 is $60. You can buy a $20 patch for it that will rework it so that it will work on VR. I really do think you're going to see shit like that. I think because you're not going to have a game that can run natively in VR and run on the TV at the same time, because that doesn't seem to be right either, because then you're kind of making concessions for one or the other, and then you're forcing those concessions on the person that doesn't want to play like that. But it also allows developers to make a little bit of money on making a game VR compatible, and then having that checkbox on the box, especially if PSVR takes off, which it may or may not. I don't know if that it will, but I don't know. I don't think that's beyond the realm of possibility.
I just feel like the way we've talked to developers when they're talking about how you have to, not only the rendering part of it, but the fact that things have to exist in this 3D plane or whatever, you have to build them out, and your HUDs have to be completely different. And then the field of view is so different and all these different things. I just feel like it breaks the game it's what they've talked about it. I think it was Steve, right? Who was talking about it isn't as easy as just porting a game over to VR. You have to go in and rebuild all the assets. And so when you sit down for Far Cry 5, you start talking about how much time that would take and how much work that would take. I don't think the $20 is
so maybe it's $120, or maybe the game's only built for PSVR. I don't know.
See,
there needs to be some.
I think it'll be that it's only built for PSVR. Because I'm sorry, this is the way VR succeeds, is that it's built for VR. None of this fucking bullshit move windowed in. Here's one mode in BioShock where you fucking use a move. That's garbage. Nobody wants that. Those modes suck. It has to be built from the ground up.
Yeah, I think that there needs to be a AAA solution, because I do not think that PSVR will be have much gaming application for very long if they're not AAA games. The good news about Sony selling it at a profit, which they did confirm and I couldn't believe, is that
this money can be used to reinvest into, not in their internal studios, but probably because I don't think their internal studios are really interested in making VR games other than maybe London and Gorilla Cambridge and Japan Studio.
And clearly Sony Bend, who just won't release a game.
I doubt Ben's working on a
Eric Jensen,
VR game.
He's got glasses. He knows.
But we're invested in the second parties to make new games, new AAA. I do think that people are asking a lot why we talk about Vita and PSVR side by side, because I think they can learn a lot from the way Vita was handled. To make PSVR more viable, they must invest money. They must, like, that's why people are like, oh, they're making a profit. I'm like, it's not gratuitous. It's not an altruistic thing they're doing. A, and B, like, they can use this money to reinvest into the PSVR thing. If they were losing $50 a unit, plus they had to reinvest money into games to the tune of maybe $100 million or more given to 10 different teams, I don't know. I just think that they have to invest that money wisely into second party and hopefully third party experiences. Sure. I'm just curious how much asset reworking is really required, because it doesn't really make any sense to me, and I don't have a technical mind of why if Far Cry 4 or Far Cry 5 is in 3D in a first person perspective, why you couldn't just make that first person perspective render twice on a headset, and that wouldn't, I don't see how that would break the assets. You would need to rework the HUD because that couldn't be flat. Mm-hmm. But everything else is already in 3D. So that's the kind of stuff that like I'm a little fuzzy on, because I am not.
You and I are stupid.
Yeah, I'm not
talking to microphones for a job. We don't know what the hell's going on.
Because like that seems to be I don't want to say easy, because I'm sure it's not easy, but that seems to be something that would be possible. I don't understand why a rock in Far Cry 5 wouldn't look right in a headset. It's already rendered in 3D. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm thinking. I'm trying to wrap my head around the problem, because I don't know either, obviously.
Now, someone like Steve Gaynor knows much more about this than us, and I take him at his word, because the HUD thing is a real problem.
Yeah.
But that's where the $20 patch would come in to remove the old HUD and remove all of the things that don't work and add in all the things that do work. But you would think that the infrastructure of the shooter, like if you removed everything on the screen that was flat, so like the HUD, the menus, and you just were in the game in a headset, why wouldn't that render on PSVR? That's the one thing I don't understand.
Think about it this way. Think about it when we were talking to Severed guys, Drinkbox, when they were in, right? And I think you asked them on there about PlayStation VR, right? And they were talking about it, and they're like, well, the fact of the matter is there's no roof and there's no floor. You know what I mean? Like the game's built around, and I'm not saying
that's a huge difference compared to what we're talking.
No.
Because there is a floor and there is a roof.
Sure, but I mean, think about looking down in Far Cry. Like, what is your body? You don't see your body ever, right? And that's something you have to solve for. There's like little shit like that you're using. Like, where are all the weapons going and coming from? We never know. But if I could suddenly look over my shoulder and just see that there's all fucking piled behind me or nothing or appearing from that's the little shit where it's like, there's so many little workarounds and sleight of hand tricks that developers use for games that we would never know about. But when they go in there, like I think Firewatch, right? When they went in there and like turned the camera around and it's just like this horrifying arm, like it's just an arm and all this shit over here that like pulled out, and that with those screenshots they released that were like to show you how fucking weird it is. There's that kind of thing. And I'm not saying these are deal breakers. I think you're making a good point with the Far Cry now. I'm understanding a little bit more what you're talking about with like the HUD. But everybody seems to think say that it's more complicated than we think it is, which I understand.
Oh, I'm sure it's not easy at all. It's not like porting a game from PS4 to Xbox One, or
it's vice versa. Fucking putting your goddamn trophies on your trophyless game.
But it's just interesting to me to learn more about why this might be so hard from a game's perspective. If you stripped all of the flat things out of a game so that you are in a 3D world already, then why wouldn't that game work? That's the one thing I don't understand. So when Steve Gaynor says that you have to rework all of the assets, does he literally mean all of the assets, or does he mean the HUD assets or the flat assets? Or the personal assets like your legs or your arms that, you're just a block really behind the camera, because what the fuck do they care? But they have to worry about that when you look at yourself. I'm positive they know way more than I do, but I just don't understand it. I need to wrap my head around that. I need a technical discussion about that.
One of the developers who knows us and is working on VR, email me please, and we'll figure it out. I'm saying $60 for retail games. I think they're going to stick at that thing.
Yeah, I think Brinks will be 60.
I think your indie games, your other VR games, your ER experiences, I think are going to come in more like $29.99. I think it'll be a while before we get indies that are going down to like, where you're thinking $9.99, $15.
Well, what's interesting about that is that I think the games are probably harder to make, and I think that they're going to need a greater margin too. So this is one of the things that you might have to get used to with PSVR, is that if there's only, say, 2 million of them in the wild by March of 2017, then these guys are only going to be selling 10, 20, 30, 50,000 units of a normal game, maybe. And so they're not going to be able to charge usual $5, $10, $15 for a game, because how are they going to make another one? So I think we're going to have to get used to paying more, unfortunately, for VR games.
100%.
And or VR experiences, as it were. The other thing that Shuhei touched on, which I thought
pretty interesting. Well, there were multiple things, but the one thing he talked about was that they were afraid they would have too many games, and that's one of the things
That's a real threat,
because it's so funny. It's almost serendipitous that he brought that up, considering that what I was talking about with Donald Mustard and a couple other people. I was talking about that with Cliffy B. I talked about Shannon Sudstill about like, are there too many games? And I am emphatically yes. Half the shit that's released on PSN, if not more, every week should never be released. These guys are selling 10,000 units of a game. It's like, well, you're burying.
What was the point?
Your stuff. So it seems like they're cognizant of that with PSVR, that they need to have quality experiences that are not hard to find. If you launch with 50 games, I think it's a huge mistake. No reason to launch with 50 games. There's no reason to have 50 games on that thing in 6 months. You know what I mean?
The thing about 50 games between October and the end of the year that I understand would be the fact that if these are coming out and they are experiences, you know what I mean? Like, I played that Gary the Gull game right now. I'm sorry. I played Gary the Gull Experience at PS VR's releasing at GDC. And it's an interactive short film. You know what I mean? There's no game to it. You sit there, you nod. It's totally, I guess in the final version, you'll be able to talk into your camera, but we were at a loud event. So it was just based on nodding or shaking your head no while this seagull talks to you. And it was cool and it was
like
neat,
semen.
but it was super short and it was over. And it's like, would I ever play that again? No. Would I spend $5 on it to have so that, yeah, when grandma comes over, when mom comes over, I get to say that? I think that's, when they say there's going to be 50 games, I think there's going to be 5 real games, 5 like games that are like meaty and eating up all your time. You're leveling up in Eve Valkyrie and you're doing all this stuff. And then I think there's going to be 45 to 40 experiences that are probably coming in and like this, it'll be clear. This is a kind of a demo. See how this works. Da 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 da. I think you're going to see a lot of that stuff that we've seen so far and tinkered around with. I wouldn't be surprised if they like put out the kitchen as like an experience, right? And here's an experience pack, 5 VR experiences for $25 or something like that. And it is these tech demo. They are these tech demo reels.
We'll see.
We will.
I think you're probably right about
in
that.
October.
All right. Number 3. Or do you have more questions?
No, go.
Number 3. According to a substantially sourced report from Kotaku, Sony is officially working on and seemingly plans to release an updated PlayStation 4 unit dubbed by many the PS 4.5. Here's what Kotaku had to say. So instead of like boiling it down, I'm just going to read the story.
Okay.
This story is by our friend Patrick Klepek.
We love you, Patrick.
He says, Sony is currently planning a new version of the PS4 with increased graphical power and games running at 4K resolution, developer sources tell Kotaku. We don't know whether current PS4 owners will be able to upgrade or if they'll have to buy an entirely new device to benefit from the power boost, but from what we hear, Sony has started briefing developers. Based on conversations with developers who have spoken with Sony, this PS 4.5 will include an upgraded GPU both to support high-end 4K resolution for games and add more processing power to that. That can enhance the games supported by PlayStation VR, the headset Sony will launch this fall. It's unclear if PS 4.5 is an official name or just a nickname that developers have been using. One developer jokingly called it the PS4K while telling me about the device. In layman's terms, 4K resolution is around 4 times the pixel size of 1080p, which is the current standard for games on PlayStation 4 and competing consoles. The current PS4 can output 4K photos and videos, but cannot support 4K resolution for games. With this upgrade, it would. Besides resolution, developers would have an opportunity to push more effects and other graphical tweaks to make their games look better, thanks to the new GPU. A more powerful PS4 would also allow the machine to be more competitive with PCs in the world of virtual reality. With a higher-end GPU, the PS4 could easily match up against the more expensive Oculus Rift and HTC Vive virtual reality headsets, which are designed to work with powerful PCs. When contacted yesterday about this report, Sony declined to comment. Quote, "We can't comment on rumors or speculation," unquote, a spokesman said in an email.
The traditional response.
The circle of people who knew about this upgraded PS4 was small until recently. I first heard about the device from one trusted source, then 2. Kotaku's Jason Schreier and Steven Totilo were also able to independently verify the existence of these hardware plans with their own developer sources, although some of the details have been vague. One source told us that the device felt exploratory and that it may not even be released this year. We've also heard that at this week's Game Developer Conference in San Francisco, Sony held meetings with developers about the hardware and how it would work. As we were chasing down the story, coincidentally, Kotaku UK EIC Keza McDonald,
Oi, governor, me, Keza McDonald, ain't it?
overheard some developers casually talking about the machine while online at GDC. They mentioned the name PS 4.5 and discussed its increased horsepower, mentioning both 4K resolution and PlayStation VR. Our sources aren't sure when this upgraded machine will ship to consumers nor how much it will cost. The PS4's price dropped from $400 to $350 last fall, and one source indicated that this new PS 4.5 could let Sony keep selling PS4 hardware at a higher profit margin for $400. There are still a lot of big questions surrounding the device. Will Sony allow people to trade in their existing PS4s to buy their new machine?
No.
How will developers cope with releasing games on multiple types of hardware?
I don't think they will.
Could some games only support PS 4.5, as is the case with the new Nintendo 3DS?
I don't think so.
When this PS4 goes on sale, will Sony be able to sell old PS4 hardware at a lower price? How can Sony manage all of this without fragmenting the market? Right now, we don't have the answer to those questions. The PS4.5 may not be alone either. I've heard whispers about an upgraded Xbox One for a while now, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, and that goes back to Phil Spencer's whole thing about like he sees this console generation being one that is changeable, upgradable.
Now, this concerns me greatly and about PlayStation's prospects of ruining a good thing. And I'm curious about what you think about this news, because you're one thing about them only making games for PS4 and not PS4.5. Of course, they're going to only make games for PS4.5. So why? Otherwise, how would it work? You know?
Well, I mean, I think the fact of the matter is, the idea would be that it runs better on PlayStation 4.5, right? Wouldn't that be like, in my head? Not being a developer, not being a hardware manufacturer, or anything, right?
You're not?
No, I know. Surprisingly, no.
Shocking.
Me and Portillo aren't building PS4s back there. Interesting. I think there's a way for it to not coexist, but like phase out. Like I would think PlayStation 4.5's arrival would mark the end of the PlayStation 4 SKU we know and have. I would think that, hey, listen, we're putting out this new one. It's going to run games better. It's going to make VR look better. It's going to do ... I think it's like PC. I think that's the best way I can compare it or put it into how my mind thinks about it. Is it would be like you're going to have either high-end specs or low-end specs. There's two specs here. And if it says it's PlayStation 4.5 compatible, it won't say compatible. It'll say
enhanced by PlayStation 4.5.
Exactly. Yeah. And it'll be one of those things where you put it in, it won't be like a PC. You'll put it in and it'll know if it's PS 4.5 or not. And then you'll get that kind of experience. I think so then it would be the only messaging I see away, because in my head, in the Greg Miller scheme, that's how it works, right? These games work on either system. They just run a lot better over here. And you're going to get games that are not running, well at all on PlayStation 4, and they're running great on PlayStation 4.5. That sucks. I don't think it's going to be every game. It's going to be the games that aren't optimized. It's going to be this. It's going to be, again, high and low settings where you get all these PC reviews, and it runs really crappy on this GPU or this processor or hard drives. Is that what they use? Mouse and keyboard? If you use this mouse and keyboard, it doesn't run well. I don't know what the hell happens in PC reviews. But you understand my point. And I think what you do, though, is that you phase out the old PS4. So it's like, if you're going to the store to buy a PlayStation 4 now, you are buying a PlayStation 4.5. I don't think you sell it as a boutique item. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm in. If they come out and they're like, PlayStation 4.5, it's better on VR, it'll look better, it makes your games run better, PlayStation Store will run better. In general, maybe it's got a better internet interface or whatever, so I'm getting better speeds on up and down, even though people have said that's PlayStation servers. And again, that's outside of my wheelhouse of expertise. If it's a better PlayStation experience, I'm in, and that gets me super excited, period, about it. I love a souped up PS4. I love my PS4 now. But I think you put that into shelves, you put it on store shelves, and maybe this is where I don't have an answer for you, Colin, is that I think you put it on store shelves, phase out the PlayStation 4. You end that SKU altogether. This is the new SKU. But the problem with doing that is I don't understand how much more it costs to make the new PlayStation. So I don't know. For me, the problem and the messaging issue wouldn't be that there's two, because there wouldn't be anymore. There would just be PlayStation 4.5. But I don't know if you need to go back to the $399 price point. That's the one thing I can't wrap my head around. Because if that would be the one confusing thing, because it was a big deal to bring the price down, people like that thing. But now for $50 more, you're getting a better unit. Is that enough? Or is the profit margin already on what they have already on PlayStation 4? Is it still there with PlayStation 4.5, but not to the same extent? But they're ready to eat that cost to get this out, to make PlayStation VR better, to sell that, to sell games. You know what I mean? Like, there is a domino effect here.
Yeah, I don't know that you're right, though. I think I just don't see them. This is a bad idea. I don't see, if it works the way you say it's going to work, then it's fine. But I just don't know how it would work like that, because then you're telling console developers that they have to start scaling their games, like and have settings and stuff like that. The one thing about from what I understand from my developer friends about making console games is exactly what is going to run your game.
Right.
Like the PS4 is the PS4. All 40 million of them are the same. So
exactly.
So now you're going to have multiple SKUs of PS4s, and like, what if then the patch doesn't work on this PS4, but it works on this PS4, and then this guy's PS4 runs this game better, but then this guy's PS4 runs it like shit, but he didn't know that because he only buys 2 games a year. Like,
I hear you.
I don't know, man. This when I read this, I was like, oh no, like this isn't good. You can't. If you're doing this, they have to be, and they've been very clever so far with everything they've done with PSVR, with PS4 itself. Been very clever about the marketing and the way everything rolls out. But why interrupt the PS4 right now? Why disrupt anything? This thing is on pace to outsell PS2, which is unbelievable. It's not going to, 152 million units is not possible. There's no way the PS4 sells that much. But PS4 will sell over 100 million units, making it one of only 4 consoles that would have ever done that. Up there with the original PS1, PS2, and the Wii. It's a really successful unit. And I'm talking about home consoles, not handhelds.
Now, real quick to interject, though, on my side of the fence, and again, we're saying the same thing. I don't know. You're right. I do love that about consoles. It works. I always make fun of PCs for that, right? But what you just said kind of plays into their strategy. If they can do this and release the new PlayStation 4.5 that is, does this better, I'm ready to buy a new one, and I bet a whole bunch of our fans are ready to buy a new one. So suddenly you're moving more units than you're pumping the number back up. I'm not buying PS4s anymore. I got 2. I'm done. You know what I mean? I have one in my house. But now all of a sudden there's a new unit out there. A whole bunch of people would. And then if you're doing it the way I'm positioning it, ignoring the how does it work factor of it, you'd suddenly then you don't lose anybody. You don't lose anybody who was on the fence about it. Now they even need another incentive to buy it because it's better than it was before.
But the stratification of consoles never really happened. Like the only examples of it really happening was like with the expansion pack on N64, which was like something that actually came with a game at one point, and maybe like the Ethernet hookups for PS2 and stuff like that. But it wasn't like a major thing. Like you couldn't play Majora's Mask without the expansion pack, right?
Yeah.
On N64. But most games worked fine on N64, and they never released a new N64 ever. It was the same unit always, and that thing was built in from the very beginning to work with it with the unit you already had. So the two things I'm wondering, and again, this is a technical thing, is to Tim's point on Gamescast, is the PS 4.5 or the expandable console going to work with the USBs or something like that? I don't think that's possible. So the only other thing that I think is that they are going to release a unit that might be the new PS4 Slim, that might be the 2009 version of the PS3 when it became $300 or whatever, except for this is probably more expensive. But I fear for them because this isn't, we are the console space is not about unity over Xbox, PS4 and Nintendo. Everyone seems to hate each other, but PS4s are PS4s,
Unification.
or PS4s are PS4s.
Yeah.
And PS4 is already the most powerful console. Now it's not going to be maybe when Nintendo releases the NX something. I don't think that the NX is going to be more powerful than PS4, but that doesn't seem to be Nintendo's thing. But I just don't know that this is a good idea. I think that they really might shoot themselves directly in the foot by doing this. That this is, if there's not a clever way to do this that does not affect anyone, then don't do it at all. At least not now. Do it later. I think that the impetus behind the PS4 4 at 5, should the rumors be true, and I suspect that they are, considering Kotaku wrote it and I trust them completely, is the VR unit.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't. I don't think it's about 4K. I don't think any of that matters. I think it's like they were saying, like, oh shit, like we can't render this stuff the way it needs to be rendered for big games, and eventually Oculus and Vive are going to embarrass PSVR because they're not dependent on a static piece of hardware.
Yep.
And so this is going to make people think differently about PlayStation or think differently about home consoles. I just don't know that the console space wants that, and I still contend that the console space never cared about power, and so you're forcing them to care about power because of something they might not even want, and then this is going to cause different tiers or different echelons of games, because I do not believe that in 4 years, if the PS 4.5 comes out next year, in 2 years there are going to be games that will not run on the original PS4 because how is that all going to work? Like I don't get it. If the extra CPU and GPU stuff or whatever for rendering graphics or rendering bigger worlds and with less popping and all that kind of stuff, then you're just going to get the shitty
low
texture frills version of it, and then you're just going to pawn that off on people with the original PS4. The people, by the way, that were there first. You know what I mean? That to me is a dangerous market play. You're going to tell the people that bought your shit already, and has supported it and made it what it was, you guys need to get another one now, along with all the other people that are going to buy in now. And I'm going to sit there and be like, well, dude, I've been there since November 2013. That's kind of bullshit, isn't it?
Pascal Durbin writes into kindafunny.com/PSQ just like you can to get your questions read on the air and says, hi, Greg and Colin. Rumors of a so-called PlayStation 4.5 are running amok, and having just bought my PS4 a couple of months back, this leaves a sour taste in my mouth. An upgradable console is one thing, but being compelled to replace an entire system more than once in a generation is something else entirely. My question is this: if the rumors are true, do you guys think that this is a necessary step to keep up the pace with the other platforms and the emergence of VR, or is it a slap in the face to the 40 or so million PlayStation 4 owners, especially those 8 million, myself included, who purchased their consoles this last holiday season, in the hope that it would see them through the end of the current generation? Much love from South Africa, Pascal. That is definitely the concern you're bringing up.
And no disrespect to him, it's a bigger insult to people that were there in 2013.
Sure.
and 2014. That people that made and buttressed these numbers and got these developers working on games that are going to be coming out over the next few years, like those are the people that bought in. And so I think this is super complicated, which is why one of the guys, that used the word exploratory and talking to Kotaku, because I don't believe that this is the thing that's necessarily going to happen. I can imagine a fight, and this is all conjecture, but I can imagine a fight between the marketing team and being like, how do we do it? Like, how? But we could all also be looking at this through warped lenses that aren't even what they're doing. And so like, we don't have any answers and they're not going to talk about it. So,
and that's the thing is like, we don't have all the information. So you're left to jump to conclusions. But I think the main concern and knee jerk reaction, right, is that I've just bought it. I've done this. I expected this. I expected this. I expected that. I mean, that's not the way the world works anymore. We talk about how do you keep up with this and how do you keep people buying it? How do you keep doing? How many people buy a phone every year? You know what I mean? Like buy a phone every year for the next suite of upgrades to do all these different things. Like I did buy my PlayStation 4 at launch, right? And right now, if they were like runs better, less load times, it's gonna make. I'm like, yeah, I'm in. I'm totally in because I love my machine experience so far. And I know I'm not everybody, and maybe that is the thing.
Right.
It's a luxury item. You're still using an iPhone 5. You don't need to jump that way. And so certain things don't run as well, but you're not like destroyed by it.
No, it's true. And you're right. We do look at tech in a different way because we are such a consumerist technological society now that we don't hold on to things for years anymore like we used to. But you also have to remember that like it's a price thing too. Like we could easily, we both make well above the median household income in the United States. There are people that bought in, saved their money, worked hard to buy their PS4, and then someone just be like, "Fuck you," Now, now, and I know that's not necessarily how it's going to go down. I'm sure that's not going to be Sony's intent, regardless of how it shakes out. But to me, I wouldn't be surprised if some people felt that way because it's like, what the fuck? Like we bought in on this. PS1 came out in '95, and they were making games on it until 2003. PS2 came out in 2000, and they were making games on it until a couple of years ago. And then the PS3 is still getting games, even though it came out in 2006. And I bought this thing in 2013, and in 2017, I have to buy a new one,
right?
Or I'm asked to buy a new one to play the best version of the games that should be running on my machine for several more years. I understand the PS4's power is finite, and I also understand the technology is moving exponentially forward. But I just feel like, and I'm not saying that they're wrong. I'll buy it too. The selfish part of me was like, fine, that sounds great.
My main thing is I just feel like this is what right now with zero information, right? As we talk about this, it is us coming off and I mean both of us, the gaming populace coming off as a bit entitled. Like, yeah, the business model's changed because it's not fucking 1989 anymore. You know what I mean? Like, it's not that world anymore. We live in a world where everything is evolving all the time. And so this is the Xbox is doing the same thing, right? And this is the same thing that was brought up over on our kindafunny.com/PSQ from Eagle Laser Cobra. Hey guys. The rumor going around is that Xbox might release an updated and more powerful Xbox One. I was just wondering if you guys think about these half steps in console generations and if you think that people who don't update might get burned somehow. Personally, I'm against these upgrades and more powerful things because if I wanted to update my gaming equipment every 2 to 3 years, I'd buy a PC. Thanks for your awesome show, PX. I love you, Alex. We're seeing that. We're talking about that. And that's the thing is I just feel like console manufacturers are painted into a corner in the fact that right now, everything's going fucking gangbusters and it's really doing well and awesome, blah, blah. But Vive and Oculus and PC gaming are making these leaps every 6 months. What is the thing where the computing power changes?
Yeah, it's Baker's Law or something.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, everything is changing all the time. And what happens is, yeah, sure, it's fine. But then how many times, do you see PC games ported over and the console version does get the shit version and it doesn't run well and da-da-da-da-da. Like, that's the thing I think they're trying to stop in a business model and trying to figure out. I don't know if this is a solution. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just saying that I think we need to be aware that it's 2016 and like the things that have worked before for decades aren't the same things anymore. Apple's shown a whole new thing with hardware and how this can all work. I don't know what the solution is. I'm totally on board with buying a new PS4 though.
It's Moore's Law, by the way. Yeah, no, I agree with you. Things are changing. It's just, it's at the very least we can say it's unprecedented in the console space. When there was new SKUs of even Atari consoles, but when the top loading NES came out, for instance, in 1994, alongside new games, some 10 years after the NES came out, it still played all your games.
Sure,
it actually played them better, but you could play all of those games. Mega Man 6, for instance, or Yoshi's Cookie came out alongside the top-loading NES, which could be played on the original NES SKU, the very first one you bought in New York City in 1985. So that's, and the same thing with SNES, the same thing with PS1. The PlayStation came out, and the PS1, the small one, when you could put the little screen on it, played all your games. PS2 had multiple SKUs, PS3 had multiple SKUs, so it is, at the very least, unprecedented, and it's going to require education. And it's going to require patience, but I think maybe the way you're pitching it is smart to say like, well, you don't have this expectation with your laptop or your phone or your tablet, which
Or just your
you'll
PC
gladly
games.
replace.
Yeah.
So
We'll
you know,
see. I'm
but-
fascinated.
I'm fascinated too, but there should have been more foresight if this is what they wanted to do into the unit that already exists, because there was no reason why this PS4 unit couldn't have had options. You know, for it might have been complicated. You might not want people to do it, but
Expandable
expand it.
memory and all stuff. Yeah, yeah.
You know, like expand it a little bit.
Yeah.
Have ways to pull things in and out. Like make it very consumer friendly. Maybe it's a little more expensive at the beginning. Maybe you charge a little more for it, but you with the understanding of being like, well, this is so friendly that even your electronics ignorant grandmother could replace
Plug and play.
the CPU in this thing or whatever it is by doing X, Y, and Z. It's very simple.
Sure.
You know. Now I'm not saying that that's an easy thing to engineer, but I'm not an engineer at Sony. You know, so it's if that's the way they want to play it, the unit should that PS4 the way it is right now, that
Beautiful, sexy
beautiful
black box.
piece of work, you know, should have been the same one we could use for 10 years. Just
I hear
pulling
you.
shit in and out of it.
I hear you.
But again, easier said than done. What the fuck do I know? Number
Nothing.
4. Uncharted 4 Thief's End has officially gone gold. Naughty Dog's Neil Druckmann, friend of the show, revealed the news on Twitter holding the final gold copy of the game on a burned Blu-ray disc. He also noted that I was wrong with the Colin was wrong hashtag. About the reason for the delay, maybe manufacturing was to blame after all. So I think he also tweeted out a picture, although I couldn't find it, of someone installing the game on a PS4. So the
Yeah, I think
game...
Naughty Dog might have
Maybe
already
it was
did.
Naughty Dog.
Yeah, yeah.
So the game's done.
Hooray!
I'm sure they'll patch it. But yeah, so they're sending it over for manufacturing. The game comes out until May. We probably won't get it for another month.
I'm predicting we have it by the end of the show.
That would be bold, huh?
I'm going to check my email right now.
All right, this is the weirder. You're going to check your email for... The game has to go through cert.
We'll start it for him. Well, if we give it the seal of approval, we'll just hit up Shu, be like, it's good. Publish. Put on the PSN. All right, we don't... update, we don't have our Uncharted codes.
All right, so this is a weird one. Number 5, Rime, the PS4 exclusive originally revealed at Gamescom in 2013 before PlayStation 4 was even released, has officially reverted back to Spanish developer Tequila Works. The company both tweeted out about it and released a press release and statement to sites like Polygon, noting that, quote, SCE is no longer proprietary of the IP nor the publisher of the game, end quote. In a tweet, the company said, quote, Tequila Works has chosen to reacquire the rights to its open world adventure game Rime. We look forward to the release of Rime in the future, end quote. The company also insists on Twitter that the studio is still working on the game. This story is very, very fishy. There's way more to this story. Now, over at NeoGAF,
Oh, here we go. To the gaff.
so it's L-H-E-R-R-E, or it could be a capital I, but I think it's L-H-E-R-R-E. You know how it usually says member or what junior or whatever,
Yeah,
it
yeah.
says accurate under his name or whatever. So apparently this person has been verified. Again, take everything with a grain of salt that I'm about to say. Here's what he or she says.
Tell me what the Harry says.
About Rime. All this info, he or she says, comes from a source very close to the studio. First of all, I was told that the reveal trailer was all cinematic. It was faked to mimic gameplay, assets, etc. from the real game, but 0% of the game was implemented. So the real challenge for the studio was to put all that vision into the final game, and apparently this has been impossible to achieve. These words are... Oh, what does that mean? These words are a direct quote from my source about this news and the studio itself. It contains his personal opinion. Quote, Sony required about 1 month ago that the dev kits be returned and canceled fundings into Tequila Works. Due to the game had no sense. Basically, there wasn't a game.
No sense.
Now, Tequila Works is Spanish, so you assume this person's first language is in English. This is a consensus. This is a consensus. I don't know what it says of the bad studio direction. Basically, Raul Rubio thinks that he is the next Tim Schafer. The truth is that Raul was fired from Mercury Steam. Mercury Steam is the Spanish studio behind Castlevania.
Of course.
The people from Mercury Steam speak really badly about him. The main critics are he has no idea about games, technology. He has crazy ideas without sense. If you add that his wife is the chairman of Tequila Works and looking into info, you can find this. You can see that basically she is in public notary in Spanish. She hasn't any background in making games. The results are that Rime has no publisher and it is not canceled due to the fact that they got public Spanish funds to develop the game. So there's a lot of like weird shit going on, and rumors about Rime, by the way, have been circulating on like insider forums like NeoGAF for some time that the game was fucked. Take all of it with a grain of salt.
And Sanctuary.
But Rime... it seems like SCE gave Rime back to Tequila Works, and the one thing that's weird to me about the story, the comment I think on Twitter, was that we have chosen to reacquire the rights to a game that you didn't own. It sounds now again, this is all conjecture. It sounds to me that Sony said like, you know what, you go ahead and keep that.
You go ahead and work on that. You enjoy that.
Now people have to remember that this isn't the first time Sony has dropped an exclusive. Remember Me is a really great example of a game Sony funded Don't Nod, the guys that are now huge because of Life is Strange, made Remember Me, which was an interesting kind of dystopian, third-person game. And Sony straight dropped it. It was supposed to be a PlayStation 3 exclusive. They dropped the game and Capcom published it later on. So this isn't the first
and it
time.
won multiple Game of the Year awards.
No. But this is the first time. So this is not the first time Sony has dropped a game. I'm just interested in what the hell happened here.
Exactly.
It sounds to me like the game was just a disaster. Now, whether or not that's true, whether or not whatever happened, who knows? But
who's to say?
Yeah, I just think that. Do you have any insight into this? Because people were excited about it.
It sounds
I really
like
couldn't
this
give a
game
fuck,
was
but-
off the rails. You know what I mean? Like, granted, sure, it's all conjecture there, but whatever. Like, it does. I'm sure Sony was like, no, we're done.
Well, the big thing about the unsubstantiated but apparently true NeoGAF post is that they went in and were like, "You're giving us our dev kits back." That's a pretty bold thing to say. Like, you're not, like, they probably were funneling money into this, and it seems like a lot of people on NeoGAF, people that aren't accurate in quotes, were just like, it sounds like a scam. It sounds like there was never a game or whatever. I'm like, I'm not sure I'd go that far. These guys did make a game. They made Deadlight, but so it's not like this was their first game.
Sure.
It just seems like it was like a hope and a dream that Sony was like,
have a shot.
Yeah, like
you did not
and
pan out.
they probably
you
dumped
have nothing to show for all this work.
Yeah, they probably dumped. You would assume tens of millions of dollars into the game. So since it was announced in 2013, so who knows when it actually entered development?
Yeah.
Maybe we'll know the real story one day. I don't know, but we'll find out.
We'll
see what
find out.
happens.
I bet we'll find out the whole story one day. Somebody will leave, put up a blog.
Real quick, back to PS 4.5. Could it be that we haven't heard much from, say, Sony Santa Monica or Bend?
Because they're working on a PlayStation 4.5 game?
Yeah.
It's possible, but I doubt it because you can still show that
Just-
and say that it's.
just
I hear
throwing
you.
it out
I
there.
hear you.
I don't think it's possible either. Well, it's possible. I don't think it's the reason.
Because you can show the game and not be like, by the way, it only runs on PlayStation 4.5. What's that? Nothing. Leave me alone. I'm John Garvin.
I'm John Garvin.
Hey, everybody, it's me, John Garvin.
I interviewed John Garvin a couple of times.
Does he sound like this? Hey, it's me, John Garvin.
No.
Hey, Eric Jensen. Keep on
Jackie,
taking,
though, is like,
keep on taking vacations. You don't have to work on any game. We're not making anything.
we're not making any. Jackie T's like, hey, Colin, let me introduce you to John Garvin.
Hey, Colin, it's nice to meet you. It's me, John Garvin.
John Garvin's responsible for some hits like Siphon Filter and Siphon Filter 2
there's
and
been
Siphon Filter 3 and Siphon Filter 4.
There's been 7 Siphon filters. Did you know that?
Eric Jensen, where's the fucking game, Eric Jensen?
Hey, it's me, Eric Jensen. I heard you mention my name. I don't know where the game is. I'm going to take pretty pictures and not make anything.
Eric Jensen, I have to respond to your Twitter thing because a message I saw. He did send me a Sony Ben sticker,
Oh,
which I
did
appreciate.
you put it on your laptop yet?
No.
I have a Mizzou Alumni Association sticker. I have nowhere to put. You want to put it on your laptop?
No. I want to be associated with Mizzou. There's a lot of racists over there at school.
I think that's why you'd want to be associated with
Fair
it, huh?
enough.
Trump in 2016, huh?
I never said that.
I know.
All right, let's blaze through the rest of these.
Let's blaze, man. Let's do
blaze
it.
them dank Yarnum
Oh
nugs.
my
Speaking
God.
of dank Yarnum nugs,
Colin
number
Way.
6, Bloodborne is getting a real life card game, not a digital card game. Officially licensed by Sony and published by Cool Mini or Not Games. According to GameSpot, which cites designer Eric Lang's Twitter account, the card game will be, quote, simple but highly deep and interactive, end quote, and is based on the, quote, the Chalice dungeon runs where players compete to kill monsters and take their blood, end quote. He noted that it's a, quote, risk management game with a bit of groupthink, inventory management upgrades, and tactical play in an intense 30-minute card game, end quote. There's not yet a release date attached to this project.
Ooh.
Number 7, The Division is officially the biggest new IP in gaming history. According to its week 1 sales, the game grossed more than $330 million in its first 5 days on the market, which is a record for a Ubisoft release of any kind. Ubisoft noted that the game reached 1.2 million concurrent players during its first weekend. And players after 5 days spent over 100 million hours playing the game cumulatively. Its performance at market has even surpassed the massively popular MMO FPS, Destiny.
Peds McTales writes in to kindafunny.com/PSQ and says, hey, Colin and Greg, with the Division earning the
What's his
title...
name?
Peds McTales.
Hey, Peds McDales.
Oh, Jackie T's answering this question? Hey, Colin, Greg, and Jackie T. With the Division earning the title of the best-selling new franchise ever when Destiny was the previous holder, do you guys believe the Division owes some of its success to Destiny? I feel like Destiny was a lot of people's first loot-based game and popularized the genre on consoles in a way Borderlands never did. Would the Division still have done as well without the Destiny, and will the success of these two games influence more titles in this genre? Thanks for the amazing content you put out each week, Peds McTales.
Yeah, I do.
100%. I think it was one of those where
Tip of the spear.
when I talked about the Division, right, and why I was excited for it, I kept saying it's third-person Destiny in New York. That set it up perfectly for what you were getting in. It set the expectations perfectly for what you're going to get, I think, too. I jumped into that game expecting to have a fun game to run around and loot stuff in, and maybe the story will be there, maybe it won't be, whatever. I don't care. It's about it playing with other people. And that's what it's been for me. Exactly. That's why I'm in love with it, why it's delivered, why I'm aching to get back to it.
Are you aching?
I'm aching. No, for real. Like, I'm trying to figure out if I should. I'm going to.
Are you throbbing?
I'm pulsating. I'm going to Vegas this weekend with Poe. And I'm trying to should I bring a PS4?
No.
Because then I can just send him to do stuff and then I can play this game once in a while.
That's probably not a really nice thing to do.
Well, you know what? He's a dummy kid.
He is a dummy kid. No, they owe a great deal of Destiny. Now, the interesting thing about Destiny to me is in Destiny 2 specifically, which I guess will come out in 2017, is how these two IP will interact with each other, because it seems like they're going to take players away from each other. And this shows the finite, even though one's first person, one's third person, one's way more of an MMO than the other.
Same idea, though.
It is the same idea, and I still contend that there's only a finite amount of space for these games.
Well, that's the big question. I mean, he puts in here.
Overwatch versus the Gearbox game, for instance.
He's like, do you think that these two games are going to influence more in this genre? I definitely think we've talked about it all the time, right? That the industry moves in waves, and there is going to be more of these games that are jump in with your friends on consoles and go and do this and shoot that and get loot and da-da-da. But I think you're going to see success for each one of them diminish as it goes, because by the time the ones that man, Destiny's hitting and it's a great idea, let's make a game, now Division's out and there's going to be more. There's going to be Overwatch, when you're Overwatch Battleborn, they all run together. You know what I'm fucking talking about. There's going to be all these games,
and then
there's going to be another wave of them, and by that point, I'm committed to the Division, right? That's where my guys, I don't want to go do this because it is such a time sink and it is this giant thing.
It's a problem. It's going to be a problem for people that are going to be releasing games like this in the future too.
Exactly.
Especially with Ubisoft and Activision activated in this space. You really can't beat their talent, their ability to recruit talent, and their money and their marketing power.
Yeah.
Destiny 2, if I was at Activision and I was at Bungie, I'd be very interested in what the Division's doing. Not because they're the same kind of game, but just what are the hooks of that game? Why are people really into it? And will people remain? Let's keep in mind, Destiny has been out for a year and a half and is still played by millions. So it's not like it's a little...
It's almost 2 years, right?
Well, it came out in fall 2014 and it's spring 2016. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I thought it was earlier than that.
Well, you're fucking wrong.
I apologize.
Let's check.
I was like...
It's not earlier than that, though.
Okay.
I don't think.
I apologize.
But maybe it is.
Take it all back.
Let's see.
What might
September 9th, 2014.
Okay.
Number 8. Firewatch is officially a smash hit commercially. The studio revealed in a blog post that the PS4 and PC adventure game sold more than 500,000 copies in its first month at full price, and that the studio made back its capital investment in a single day, reiterating some of what it told us during the Kind of Funny Gamescast. The studio notes how grateful it is for the game's success while stating that it's continuing to refine the experience in patches, including on PS4, where it wasn't running great at release. So congratulations to Campo Santo. We know people over there personally. They were kind enough to come over here and do things with us, so we appreciate them. Congratulations.
They did all sorts of stuff with us on and off camera.
Yeah. Some things on record, some things off the record. And
Throbbing,
finally,
pulsating.
number 9, Wrap Up. Third-person platformer Skylar and Pluck's Adventures on Clover Island is coming to PS4 later in 2016. Supermassive Games, the studio behind Until Dawn and the VR title Until Dawn Rush of Blood, revealed another VR game, this one exclusive to PSVR, called Tumble. It's a puzzler. Adventure game Zing The Land Beyond, previously announced for PS4, is also coming to PSVR. Interactive movie Gary the Gull is coming. This is spelled wrong.
Told ya.
To PSVR, RBI Baseball 16 is coming to PS4 on March 29th. Shadow Complex Remastered is finally coming to PlayStation 4 in May. And finally, the long-rumored BioShock collection, which is clearly real since it's been rated by multiple gaming rating boards, has now been rated by the Taiwanese regulation board, according to GameSpot, revealing its box art in the process. So when they're going to get shit or get out the pot with this thing,
who knows?
Who the hell knows? That's probably going to be a summer release, you have to assume.
On Vita.
It's not going to be on Vita. I can't wait. I fucking love BioShock and I'm going to play it again.
Good.
And I never beat BioShock 2 and I never beat Infinite. So maybe that's my way to do it all. We'll see.
It won't be. You'll get distracted. There'll be other things to play.
I'm definitely going to beat it and Platinum BioShock 1 again.
That I believe.
Because it's so good.
I believe that.
That's it for the news, Gregory.
Colin, you know that I'm stoked. So stoked for Gary the Gull.
I know you are.
But he's so far off. He's still flying away. If I want to know what came to the Mom and Grop digital shops, where would I go?
You go to the official list of upcoming PlayStation 4, PlayStation 3, PlayStation Vita, sometimes PSP software by the Kind of Funny co-founders. Here are the games. 101 Ways to Die comes to PS4 digitally. It says in this puzzle platformer you'll need creativity, cruelty, and an absolute lack of morals as you help the evil Professor Splattenfutter complete his life's work to create the most horrific recipe book ever. 101 Ways to Die.
Dun, 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 dun.
Cat Lateral Damage comes to PS4 digitally.
Says Cat Lateral Damage is a first-person destructive cat simulator where you play as a cat on a rampage, knocking as much stuff onto the ground as possible. See the world through the eyes of a cat.
I can't wait. This is a game that came to PC and I ignored, and now here it is on the greatest platform. I want to get some trophies. You think it's got a platinum?
We can find out.
Find out for me, Colin, as I smoke this imaginary cigarette.
It does.
Fuck yes. Steve Gaynor, you're a hack.
Day of the Tentacle Remaster comes to PS4 and PS Vita digital and is cross-buy. Originally released by LucasArts in 1993, Day of the Tentacle is a mind-bending time travel cartoon puzzle adventure game in which three unlikely friends work together to prevent an evil mutated purple tentacle from taking over the world. Perhaps it's Ultros from Final Fantasy VI.
You gonna play it?
No.
No, me neither.
Dragon Fantasy The Black Tome of Ice comes to PS4 digitally, cross-buy with Dragon Fantasy Book 2 on PS3 or PS Vita. So if you have Dragon Fantasy Book 2 on PS3 or PS Vita, it is free. Join Ogden and the heroes of Westeria in this classic JRPG epic. Travel through the frozen wastelands of Tundaria, experiencing action-packed battles without random encounters, using spatially aware area of effect attacks and power moves. Travel by pirate ship, defending against enemies in thrilling ship-to-ship rock monster combat. Defeat oncoming hordes of demons and huge bosses that threaten the entire world of Dragon Fantasy.
Cool, I will.
Okage Shadow King comes, which I used to call Okage when I was young.
Of course, because that makes sense.
Yeah, I think it is Okage though. Okage Shadow King comes to the PS2 game comes to PS4 digitally. Says in an unexpected twist of fate, the spirit of an evil king is unleashed and possesses the shadow of an innocent young boy named Ari. Wielding the burden of this evil ghostly being, Ari and his friends must journey across a wonderfully animated, whimsical world. Paranautical Activity was supposed to come to Vita, but it is crossed out.
Motherfucker.
Republic comes to PS4 digital and retail.
Yay!
Says you receive a call from Hope, a woman trapped inside an eerie totalitarian state. By hacking into an elaborate surveillance network, guide her through a web of danger and deception. Developed over 5 years by industry veterans, Republic is a thrilling adventure that explores the perils of government surveillance in the internet age. Definitely want to play that.
From our friends. Very, very fun game.
Trackmania Turbo comes out and it has a trial. PS4 digital and retail. Says available for the very first time on PS4. Trackmania offers you the ultimate arcade racing universe where everything is about reaching the perfect racing time. Test your skills in more than 200 tracks. Experience immediate fun by challenging your friends at home, offline, split screen, or online. And finally, Warheads, HEDZ.
Nope.
Comes to PS4 digitally. This is out on the 24th, so this is a Thursday release. Challenge your friends online, locally, or play against AI to rule the world in this epic strategy game. Invade territories and devise tactics to defeat your opponents and take over the world.
Hey guys, we're going to be featured on the PlayStation blog, and we want to sell our game. All right, cool. What should the art be that we show in this game nobody's heard of? Just give them the title. Just give them the logo for the game. Shouldn't we maybe put a screenshot in? I don't know if enough people have heard of Warheads. No. Just shove it in there. Just put in, I want it on a transparent background, the logo of the game. People aren't going to know what it is. Not gonna, no. People will get excited for Warheads. They'll think it's a candy tie-in. We'll trick them.
That's it for the games.
Garbage, Colin.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you.
Thank you. I love you very much.
Love you too.
Colin, we already did tots, so it's time to check in on the trophy times. So
All right.
I want to know what you got for me this week. Breaking trophy news.
Well, let's look at cat lateral damages.
Thank you very
trophies.
much.
So, cat lateral damage, let's see, has...
Nobody's got him yet.
17 bronze, 10 silver, 5 gold, 1 platinum.
So more of a game than Gone Home.
The platinum is called Paul Latinum.
This is my kind of game. This kitty
So
looks
let's see,
cute.
knock over 1,000 objects, knock over
God
5,000
fucking
objects, knock over 20,000 objects for bronze, silver, and gold. Get a score of 2,000 more in objective mode. Play in the litter box mode for an hour is a bronze trophy. Be a cat for 30 minutes straight
Yes!
is a bronze trophy. Unlock and complete the museum. The
Okay.
museum
Oh, no, that's very
in
cute.
objective mode. Unlock and complete the Super Marcat in objective mode. Catch a mouse, catch 10 mice, defeat the laser pointer.
Come on, Colin. This is awesome.
It sounds pretty cool. Collect photos. There seems to be a lot of collectibles. Stay airborne for 3 seconds. Carry an object for 1 minute. Complete an objective without using paws. And the icon is a paw with a line through it. Bigger Meowth is a silver. Meow a whole bunch. And then Big Meowth is meow a lot.
Oh my God, you nailed it. This is a trophy list that nailed it.
I'm actually more excited about this game now because of the trophies. Warheads trophies are up. Should we look at those?
How many platinums this got?
Warheads has no platinum. It says 3 bronze, 3 silver, 2 gold.
Silver.
Win the game in less than 15 turns, win the game in less than 10 turns, win in less than 10 minutes, win in less than 5 minutes, win in less than 3 minutes. Defeat an online player, defeat 10 online players, defeat 30 online players. No thanks.
No, thank you.
Stranger of Sword City on Vita, which people are pretty excited about, comes out. 27 bronze, 15 silver, 2 gold, 1 platinum. Let's see.
Tell me a little bit about Stranger of Sword City. I don't
know much about it.
Is this one of the NES games?
No, I don't think so. Let me look. Stranger of Sword City. I've been seeing people talk about it. Oh, it is. Yeah, it is. Let's look at it. It looks like. Oh no, I played this.
Yeah.
It looks like a dungeon crawler. Yeah, we played this. Yeah, I played this game. This is a DRPG.
Okay.
Like first person. So like.
Oh, okay.
Let's see. Day of the Tentacle. 53 bronze trophies. 3 silver, 1 gold, 1 platinum.
Are there more tank controls in here from Tim Schafer?
53 platinum or 53 bronze trophies. 53 bronze
53 platinum trophies. That'd be all over.
Jeez, that's wait. You know what? Fuck off. I'm not even reading that list. Let's see.
Wake me when Full Throttle gets
Let's stop with Republic.
Ooh, Republic.
Republic actually, let's go here. Republic has 16 bronze, 6 silver, 7 gold, 1 platinum. Listen to every single Zager tape, help Hope collect every banned book and game cart in the game, scan every OmniView item in the game. Those are all gold trophies. So those are collectible trophies.
Nice.
Listen to the Zager. So it says there's ones for completing things, for finding all the tapes and all the OmniView and all the collectibles in each stage for silver trophies and bronze trophies. Oh, yeah.
It's good?
So it seems like, all right, so here's an example. Bronze, listen to all Zager tapes found in episode 1. Silver, scan all OmniView items in episode 1. Gold, help Hope collect all banned books and game cards found in episode 1. And then bronze, complete episode 1. And it seems like there's
that's the
and then they all accumulate
format
into gold trophies at the end.
Okay.
Very cool.
I can do that.
You should get us codes for that.
I already have mine.
Oh, I think you sent me mine too.
All right, good.
Come to think of it. Now I'm distracted because now like I don't know if
You
I
wanna
should
play
keep
that
saying
cat
Salt
game?
Sanctuary. I have cat lateral damage.
Yeah.
Meow a whole bunch. Meow a lot. 2 trophies right there.
Somber Owl wrote into kindafunny.com/PSQ for trophy time and says, "Hey, Greg and Colin, this could be a trophy time question. It is. Good job. Something I haven't really thought about when considering to buy a PlayStation VR is trophies. I wasn't really planning to buy a PlayStation VR, but now that I think about it, PSVR should be another way to get trophies. My question is, what kind of trophies support do you think PSVR will have? Do you think we will see many platinums, considering most of the launch games seem to be smaller games? How cool would it be to see a PlayStation trophy pop in VR?
Yeah,
Thanks.
that's going to be interesting. The interface will be interesting. I've not seen a PlayStation trophy pop in VR yet.
No, yeah, and that's what I'm
They're probably not
definitely-
even implemented.
Yeah, but I'm excited to see it when it happens. But I do think it's going to be interesting. I think it's going to run into the not having a lot of platinums.
Well, I think the experiences won't. I bet you that Riggs will. He told us it will.
Riggs will, yeah.
Valkyrie,
Of course.
Ace Combat. But yeah, I think most of them probably
I think the
won't.
majority of games won't. There will be these little experiences where you get a gold at the end.
Agreed.
Not a fan of that.
Agreed. Well, I mean, that's fine. I mean, I still contend that Gone Home doesn't deserve a platinum. Like, it's
deserves
not a
platinum.
big deal. The game
a
can be
big
beaten in
deal.
literally 90 seconds.
No, yeah, of course. But I mean that.
And there's a trophy for it.
Yes, but that's part of the thing. You wouldn't know how to do that till the end of the game. You know what I mean? It's not like
I know what you
It's
mean.
not like you can literally beat that was a good one. That was a good use. That was a real use of the phrase. You wouldn't know how to do it until the end, so that doesn't count. I don't like that. We spent a lot of time
Time.
in
Singular,
this
right.
episode. Yeah, no.
But time technically is, plural anyway.
Time's everywhere.
Right. That's true.
Flat circle. Already with reader mail. Kindafunny.com/PSQ. Mail with off cocktail. I'll toss you a few ones that aren't VR related. How about that, Colin?
Sure.
Then we'll get the hell out of here because I
Sure.
got to go see Batman v Superman tonight.
Yeah, with the shoe thing, this is gonna be a long episode.
Yep. I'm gonna give you 2. All right.
Sure.
Number 1 comes from Dr. Pow. Dear Kinda Funny Boys, I'm putting it on Front Street. I want a sequel to The Order 1886. It was the first big game I played on the PS4, and I had a really good time with it. Although I may have stacked the odds in my favor on this front because I played it over an extended period of time by only completing 1 chapter a day, I enjoyed the characters and the world that Rad developed, and want to see where the story goes. My questions are, does The Order 1886 deserve a sequel? Is it likely that it would get one? And what could Rad or any other developer do to get you fellows back in Sir Galahad's boots? Thanks, Jeff. P.S. You're my one true love. So, Colin.
Yeah.
Number 1. Does it deserve a sequel?
Yeah, it does.
I 100% agree with you. Yes, it does. Cool world. Beautiful
He said the world. He said the world and characters that Rad developed. That was those weren't the problem.
Yeah.
You know, those were the best parts of the game.
Right.
It does deserve a sequel.
It deserves a sequel. It's an interesting world. It's just the gameplay.
And it ends on a
boring.
cliffhanger.
Exactly. Is it likely?
I think it's a 50-50 chance. Yeah.
I think it's likely. I think it's going to happen.
Do you think Rad will develop
That's the big question. He says, and what would Rad do to get you back? I don't know if it'll be Rad. That's the big question.
I think it could be. So as far as I understand, Rad is working on they're working on 3 games, I think, right? They're working on a VR game, I think, some other game, and then a PS4 game. And my assumption is that the capital investment into that engine, which was they were fucking obsessed with it. And that seemed to be the problem, was they were just obsessed with the technology. That was the problem with the game. I've told this story many times, so I don't want to reiterate too much of it, but like the first time I saw the game, it ran like shit. Like the first time you actually saw the gameplay. But like when I saw the game in 2013 in Germany, they were just showing Galahad running around and like, look at his cape physics. And I'm like, who cares?
Right.
When I saw it at E3 in 2013, so even before that, they had a behind closed door demo where they just showed the trailer again. And then I had to spend my 5 minutes with them being like, what is it? You know, and then, is it a shooter?
Yeah, you got to ask about
Yeah,
perspectives.
and they're like, yeah. And I'm like, is it first person? They're like, no, third person. And I'm like, all right. And they're like, time's up. I'm like, you could have just showed me a fucking screenshot. And I could have figured that out for myself. So they were really worried about things that were ancillary to the game's quality. The problem with the game was not the way it ran. The problem with the game was not its characters or its story or its setting. It was all awesome. They nailed it. It reminds me a lot of Assassin's Creed in the sense that I'm like, this is awesome if you just look at it. The game's super short. It's not meaty. I mean, I didn't think mechanics were even fine, but it's just like, I'm like, did you forget to make the game? How long was this in development for? Inexcusable that this game is so short and so fucking shallow, you know? But it is such a waste. That is the thing that I'm and I think Sony might know that with Ready at Dawn, where I'm like, what a fucking waste. You have this engine, you have this world, you might as well make the Order 1887.
And that's the thing, Ready at Dawn's super talented.
Yeah,
And Sony knows that. And I think you take what you've learned from this experience, what people want out of this game, what they did to all the knocks they did get for it, and yeah, you give them another shot.
You do. I mean, but maybe you don't. I don't know. That game was in development for a really long time. Sony might just take the engine and run. But they own the IP. Anyone can make the game. Rad doesn't have to make the game. Although I'd feel bad if they didn't get them. You know, they're really into that story and stuff like that. It would be nice to at least have them write it.
And that's the thing. I think they get a shot at it again.
They might be working on it right now. And I wouldn't be surprised to see it emerge, not this year probably, but next year at E3. And I wouldn't be surprised if it was way better. You know?
Yeah. I'm way more. It's an Assassin's Creed and Assassin's Creed 2 situation where I'm like, oh, okay, there's something there, but I didn't like all of it. But I think the next one, when you sit down and you actually have a vision now and the lion's share of the technical work is done and you understand what people liked about it, now you get to jump on that. There you go.
Well, I mean, so do I think it deserves a sequel? Absolutely. It was ended to make a sequel.
Yeah.
The way the game ends is fucking cool, actually. And it would be interesting to explore that new world that, you know, they find themselves in. And I just think it's about a 50-50 chance that it's real, because Sony might have lost tens of millions of dollars for all we know on that game. And so that game, regardless of the Order 1887 or whatever they're going to call it, comes out or is announced, it's going to have a stigma attached to it of a really shitty game.
100%.
So like,
not a really shitty game. We do get people who argue with us and like, you know, he really enjoyed it. There are people
I don't want to say, yeah, you're right. You're right. That's hyperbole. That's right. You're right.
It's not a naughty bear.
It's not a naughty bear, but it is not anything better than You know, like where I was just like, I wanted that game to end, and it wasn't even that long.
Yeah.
Especially that stealth part. I was like, this game's fucking annoying me now. But
in the garden or whatever.
Yeah. I'm like, come on. This shit sucks. But like there is a nugget of something good there. We know what Rad is capable of. And I would like to see them work on something. But Sony might look at it and be like, well, this game's going to cost X amount of tens of millions of dollars to make. We already lost X amount of Y amount of money on the original. It's going to have this stigma attached to it, but maybe we can sell the original again or bundle them together. I mean, I don't know. I wish I knew the answer, but I don't. Not even off the record do I know the answer.
I heard nobody at PlayStation knows the answer.
No one knows. They were just told Ready to do what you want.
Report back to us. Yeah. If you want somebody else to do the game, just tell them. Just give it to them. Give them the engine. Mm-hmm. Let them talk to us. I'm audibling, and we're jumping to introduce you, ladies and gentlemen, to your new PS I Love You best friend. Remember, go to kindoffunny.com/forums. Go to PS I Love You the boards. Then go to PS I Love This Best Friend XOXO, where you can write a little post about why you need PlayStation Network friends. We read your story. You get people. This one comes from Bean Man. $29.99.
Bean Man?
Bean Man, $29.99.
Hey, Bean Man.
Oh, Jackie T's here. Beatman2099 says, I picked up a PS4 back in June and love it. Although I only had an Xbox 360 during the last console generation. I would love to fill up my friends list with the big, beautiful best friends. I plan on kicking ass during this trophy war, and I would love some great friends to play The Division and Uncharted 4 multiplayer with. My PSN is Beanman2999. Thanks. P.S. I love you, but I'm not ready for a serious relationship. Jacob from Missouri. So Beanman2099 is Jacob from Missouri too. So talk to him about Mizzou, the Tigers, if he's going to miss the Rams, and Jeff City, whatever the hell's happening there. You know what I mean? Claire
Jefferson
McCaskill.
City.
Claire McCaskill. Talk about that a little bit.
Talk a little bit about big old Claire.
Big old Claire, what you doing over there? How's it going? Time for this week's forgotten PlayStation game. This is where Colin or I or you from the audience talk about a game everybody's forgotten about. That is a PlayStation game. It is my turn. You have a good memory, and I like that about you. Your phone's ringing.
It's Northeastern asking me for donations.
You want to answer?
Fuck off. You know what my donation was? The $80,000 I still owe you.
I was in an Uber the other day, and Mizzou called me, and they were looking for donations. Same thing. I'm assuming students call you. They're like, we're doing a thing. And I talked.
It's because I donated to them once. And
yep.
now I have to deal with this
talked to this. I talked to this sophomore broadcast journalism major for like 10 minutes in this Uber ride, and then she got to the thing. I'm like, I'm not gonna pay anything. I've just been talking to you. I was trying to. You don't want to be mean to them. They're kids. But yeah, I wasn't. I don't feel comfortable when they're like, can you give us $200? I mean, you're a random person who called me. I'm not gonna.
Northeastern literally costs, I think, $47,000 a year. Fuck off. There's like 20,000 people there. Do the math. Leave me alone.
My forgotten PlayStation game of the week will sound like a joke, but stick with me. It's Folklore. Folklore, we always gave Ryan a lot of shit for.
Big old Folklore, because he gave it a 9.0 at IGN, and it was like one of his first reviews. And for some reason, we did give him a lot of shit. It wasn't a bad game.
It wasn't. It was a fun game, and that's why I'm nominating. It was, this action RPG, whatever you want to call it, where you're busting ghosts. That was it, and it was using 6-axis, but not in a super annoying way, where you got the ghost caught, and then you fish him out.
I'm gonna look.
Shit.
It's Japanese game.
They were Japanese. Yes, I know that. They had a sense of style. You went to this, remember, you go to this land where the dead supposedly were there. You went there and investigated this woman's mom. I can picture her in her little hat, but that doesn't help me.
Who the fuck
that doesn't help me, the developer with their hat.
Oh, Game Republic.
Oh, yeah, I know.
They're defunct now.
Well,
they made, let's see, Genji's Dawn of the Samurai, Brave Story, New Traveler, Genji, Days of the Blade, Catan on PS3, Clash of the Titans on PS3. Knight's Contract. I remember that game on PS3. Yeah.
Well, I'm saying Folklore because it's like Ghostbusters. And here I wanted to give you the intro paragraph for one Ryan Clements at Plum Cider, from the PlayStation blog. This is how his review opened. A melancholic piano sighs under the backdrop of sea-blown wind. As you meander along the paths of Doolin Village, your steps color the scene with murder, suspicion, and knowledge of the many realms of the netherworld. This surreal and oftentimes haunted journey is the journey of Folklore, and this is one great reason to own a PlayStation 3. That's a fucking intro, Clements. I know you're over there right now getting
You're a hack now,
You're
but
getting
back in the
Sid's
day.
coffee left and right. You're keeping Jackie T out of the building. You got your stun baton, keeping him out. Yeah, I'm telling you, son, you know how to write.
Oh, yeah. Clements is a fantastic writer.
Colin, would you like to know the PSN's worst name of the week?
I'm going to learn it even if I don't want to. So.
I'd love to tell you about it, but first I have to tell you about this one's sponsors. This one's Audible.com. Do you love books, but find that you never have time to read them? Well, Audible.com has the perfect solution. Get audiobooks and listen to those books you've been meaning to read while on the go, at the gym, during your commute. Audible.com provides over 180,000 titles from the leading audiobook publishers, broadcasters, entertainers, magazine, and newspaper publishers, and business information providers. Their app is free and works on iPhones, iPads, Android, and Windows Phone. You can also download and listen to on your Kindle Fire and over 500 MP3 players. And unlike a streaming or rental service, with Audible, you own your books, so you can access your books anytime and anywhere right from your smartphone. Audible.com also has the great listen guarantee. If you decide you don't like their book, you can choose. If you decide you don't like the book you choose, no worries. You can exchange any book you aren't happy with for another title anytime, no questions asked. And just for our listeners of P.S. I Love You, XOXO, Audible.com is offering a free 30-day trial membership. Go to audible.com/PS today to start your free trial. Again, show your support for us, P.S. I Love You, XOXO, and get a free 30-day trial at audible.com/PS. Back to the PSN's worst name of the week. This is where you write in with your bad PSN name. and you go to kindoffunny.com/forums, PS and board, put it up there. Do it. No more Rocket Leagues. No many random people you seeing. Some of you are trying to get it again. Also, side note.
Sidebar.
If you're one of the hi, how you doing? It's Greg on the sidebar. If you're one of these people who writes in with the questions every week, I love you. A lot of you are starting to fucking slip and go back to like writing novels here. Ain't nobody got time.
Take
for
him to
that.
school, Greg.
What's your fucking question, Zyger? I started reading the Zyger post.
Tell him how it is, Greg.
Millions of paragraphs here, and I'm just like, shut up, Zyger. Shut up.
He's John Steinbecking it up over on the forums.
Oh my God, you're over here telling me about how the dirt tastes. I don't care, Zyger.
If
Get
John
to the point.
Steinbeck talks about the clay one more time,
I swear to Jesus.
I'm coming for you.
Today's post comes from John. John says, hey guys, wanted to give a different take on worst name of the week. My spin in this whole thing is that I wasn't creative enough when creating my name years ago. My last name is Reckless, true story, which could lead to many creative username. Reckless Abandon, Rock, and Wreck Express, Wrecking Ball are just some of the ways I could have went through when I was creating a name. Instead, I just took my name and kept it simple. So John Reckless was created. I would love to be able to change my name and add a little creativity to it. So please, Shuhei, let us change our names. John Reckless. Now here, Colin, is where we tell John Reckless that he is a fucking liar. He is a straight up fucking phony. Why? Because how long has the Kind of Funny forums been around? Nearly a year.
May.
Nearly, Kind of Funny Live. Right. Nearly a year. It's like, what do you think John Reckless, who's so upset about his PSN name and he could have done all these creative things, what do you think his Kind of Funny username is?
Same.
John fucking Reckless. Just John Reckless.
Take him to town, Greg.
John Reckless, if you're gonna get up here on my show and fucking lie to me and tell me you wanna waste Shuhei Yoshida's fucking time changing a name when a year ago you were still just out there fucking putting yourself out as John Reckless, you can go fuck yourself, sir.
Tell him, Greg.
Nobody's going to waste Shuhei Yoshida's time unless it's me and Colin. That's what we do. That's what our job is.
My specialty is wasting Shuhei Yoshida's time.
You don't get to come in here and be like, I want a better name when a year ago you picked the same shitty name. That's like, I don't want to get electrocuted every time I poke the outlet, but I keep trying to fuck the outlet. Right. So here I am getting electrocuted. Sorry, John Reckless. Stop putting your dick in electrical sockets, you piece of shit.
Delete your Twitter account. Did you delete it yet?
You better.
I'll wait. Pull over your car and delete your fucking Twitter account.
I wouldn't even know how. You're going to sit on the side of the road for 20 minutes trying to figure out. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been PS I Love You XOXO episode 28. Thank you so much for joining us, John. Thank you for letting us give you shit. Remember, PS I Love You XOXO is kindoffunny.com's PlayStation podcast. So go to kindoffunny.com, subscribe to all the YouTube channels, listen to all the podcasts, watch all the videos, follow everybody on Twitter, follow me on PSN at Game Over Greggy. Go over to Colin's new Instagram and follow him there at KF Moriarty. Then call your family. What is your grandma up to? Is she still alive?
Big old grandma.
Yo, big old grandma. What do you think of Jackie T and Greg's inability to pay the water bill?
Hey, grandma. Let me tell you about PlayStation VR.
Stop it! He's like a horror villain. He's just like haunting this family. He won't stop doing it. We're also the #1 PlayStation podcast on the internet. So go wherever your podcasts are, whether it be youtube.com/kindoffunnygames or MP3 services around the globe. Subscribe, like, share, please. It means the world to us when you tell your friends about us, no matter how small you think your following is. Every episode of PS I Love You XOXO ends in a song in a segment we call Singing a Shuhei. This is where you go to kindoffunny.com/PSM and submit your song. That's right, you musical artist out there or guy who blows in a jug. I need your YouTube video and your
Who's
MP3.
blowing in a jug, Greg?
I don't know. Someone, John Reckless probably right now begging for change so he can figure out where his fucking life went wrong.
John Reckless playing the steel drum outside of the Embarcadero like all those people I saw this weekend.
This is where you, whatever musical artist you are, go to kindoffunny.com/PSM, submit your song. I need an MP3 link, because if you're listening to the MP3, I'll play the song at the end, and a YouTube link, because if you're watching the YouTube video, I'll annotate out to this week's artist. And this week's artist is Say Girl Say. Hey, Greg, says one of the people in Say Girl Say who didn't he didn't sign like his name at the end of it. It was cool running into you at South by Southwest Gaming Awards Saturday night. Just wanted to say thanks again for the courage and inspiration to step away from my old career to pursue my new passion of music. My band, Say Girl Say, is a genre-bending trio from Houston, Texas. The song is Tundra from our debut self-titled album released this summer. We are an alternative folk band with a wide range of influences and styles from east to west. Below is a link to our live video of our song, Oh My Goodness. So again, why I like Say Girl Say, a lot of promotion here. Giving us two. MP3 gets its own song, then you get a link on this to a different song. If you like Say Girl Say, it's very simple to go find them. Go to saygirlsay.com. I like that. Again, simple, and they're promoting it. They even put their Twitter in here at @saygirlsay_. Unfortunate. I don't like. This is the one thing I like. You know how it's like Nick _Scarpino, right? And he has a big problem with that. I don't mind the underscores when they're connecting things. I don't like the hanging Chad _ Say Girl Say _.
Sure.
Could it have been Say _girl _say? I would have liked that more. Just putting this out there for next time you guys form a band and you want to put an underscore at the end. Ladies and gentlemen.
Wait a minute. John Kohler posted an update on PlayStation blog about the VR launch and the VR Core pre-orders. So if you want to, so it says, update, thanks to everyone for sharing their feedback on PlayStation VR pre-orders. It's clear that there's a lot of interest from many of you to secure the PlayStation VR Core system. And I'm happy to share that we've decided to make it available for pre-order on Tuesday, March 29th at 7 a.m. Pacific time at participating retailers. So to wrap it up, here are your pre-order options. Number one, PlayStation VR launch bundle, which includes the Move and all this kind of shit, the camera. Pre-order on March 22nd, so after you listen to this, 7 a.m. Pacific time. PlayStation VR Core, and that costs $500. PlayStation Core, $400. Pre-order on March 29th at 7 a.m. Pacific time. And it says, if you're interested in owning PlayStation VR on day one, mark those calendars as we're expecting these units to sell out quickly. So there's your...
The update I predicted in the Roper's report is now here.
There it is.
And I'd like to tell you this. Haha, PlayStation. Every week lately, you try to fuck us by breaking news in Monday late afternoon into the evening when you know this show's done. So Scott Rohde, you're listening in your car right now. Fuck you. We got you, son. We fucking nailed you on this one.
Gotcha.
Gotcha, bitch.
All right, it's been a good show. Goodbye.
Ladies and gentlemen, here is Say Girl Say, which with whatever song you're getting, depending on where you're watching. Until next time, it's been our pleasure to serve you.